There we go. What is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing? I'll tell you what. This is going to be. We're going to try some things this stream. I want to just open up with that because I was sitting here, I was talking to my wife, right, about how I was going to approach this stream. What were we going to talk about? What were we going to go through? And I mean, the complicated part about this game is if y'all feel like I did, this was a game where the Arizona Cardinals, let me just put this here. This was a game where the Chicago Bears welcomed in the Arizona Cardinals to Soldier Field, and the Cardinals did not play very well. Not really. I mean, between Kyler Murray dropping the ball all over the place, between a Cardinals run game that really kind of struggled to get off the ground, right? Between just wet field, everything therein. How you doing, Elon? Great to see you. It wasn't a great game from Arizona's perspective, but the Chicago offense doled out 4 interceptions. They basically handed the keys for Arizona to do, I wouldn't say like whatever they wanted, but short fields aplenty. And the Cardinals cashed in enough that by the halftime, it was 21-7. And by the final score, it was 33-22. And the Bears' backup quarterback, Andy Dalton, did not play exceptionally well, to say the least. And while I want to definitely talk through some Larry Borum, I think he was great, if not phenomenal compared to where he's been. It took a massive stride forward. And by the way, whether it's the stream setup, like between the ticker that you see in the bottom left, the smaller chat in the bottom right, let me know what y'all are seeing, whether it's working better or not. I actually don't know if that small font is too small, for instance, but it might just actually be the right size to where y'all can type out solid paragraphs and they're legible, which is sort of what I'm looking for. But anyways, with that in mind, we're going to hit the highlights of this game, which I think are relevant, right? Talk through some ups, some downs here and there, and then let's watch some Packers tape, honestly. Like, let's go watch a little bit of the Green Bay Packers taking on Minnesota, and we'll get in, we'll get out. It'll be shorter than usual, but we've got a Justin Fields versus the Packers game coming up on Sunday night, and a stream coming up after that should have a little bit more, let's say, future relevance than this game where Andy Dalton welcomed in the Arizona Cardinals, lost, and all we really learned is that the Ryan Pace-led roster that the Bears were supposed to end up with was not the roster that was ultimately going to take them to the playoffs. Now, what do y'all think about that? What do y'all like? I think that's a solid plan. It's just a matter of getting started. So let's go ahead and dive into it because there's definitely some things we can talk about. And I think it all really starts with this first offensive drive, right? I mean, it's simplistic enough, sure, but as we get into this first, let's see. Okay, so here's the kickoff. We'll wait through this. First kickoff goes over Herbert's head, but the Bears are going to open with a run pass drive that I think goes dramatically worse than anybody could have asked it for, right? But so let's see here. We start out, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you bet 9 guys in the box, which is not unusual, especially when you take a look at this and the Bears have 1 outside receiver. If you ever wonder why it is that that offenses will use a whole bunch of spread formations where often you'll get as many as like 2 receivers per side. Sometimes you'll get obviously bunch sets out here with a receiver there, and a receiver there. Sometimes these bunches can be a little more interior, but the primary reason that people just don't roll out the jumbo anymore, at least not like they usually do, is because you end up with these massive stacked boxes to run into. And yes, Bob, I did, which mentioning Khalil Herbert on kick return, it's not like it's a bad place to put him. It's just a nice reminder that the Bears have talent kind of oozing out the ears at running back at the very least. It's the one position where they really do, I think. And we've got him playing kick return, which is fine, but I wish we could get him a little more involved in the offense. We kind of did, neither here nor there. But so from that point, you end up with 9 in the box. So once the Bears hand off this first handoff and it goes against them, they're already in a hole. When you stuff this many guys in the box, you're just going to run into problems. In this case, for instance, the Bears are running like or I think you would call it a power run, where they're just going to pull two people across, the guard and the center, and the play just gets dammed up. There's nothing particularly crazy here other than you're going to see basically this whole side of the line try to form a wall as I think it is Daniels and Mustafa come around the edge and just don't get a ton out here. But let's take a look. So it's Whitehair and Mustafa specifically that are going to come through. Whitehair doesn't get a ton on his block is something that I noticed. I don't want to pretend like Cody Whitehair's been terrible, but he definitely hasn't been the $16 million, I think it was a $12 million man that the Bears paid him to be this season. And in this game, I think that they wanted a little bit more out of him. Mustafa, UDFA, had his struggles, certainly continued in this game, but I don't want to toss Mustafa around too much for a power run where Whitehair is supposed to get a little more out on the or like off of the edge than he did, and instead Montgomery ends up tackled by that edge player that Whitehair wasn't able to get to. We'll take one more look at the play just so that you can see it. Make sure you're watching 65 because the key is with a head start, you want him to be able to handle 55 in space at this point. But instead, he almost holds and instead just sort of lets it go and Bears end up in the hole. Like you're saying, Hassan, I feel like I try as hard as I can to blast pace when is relevant, which is not often, right? I mean, the trouble with the Bears roster is that I feel like a lot of people are taking a look at this team who right now is down Allen Robinson, they're down Akeem Hicks, they're down Khalil Mack, they're down, there's more than that. I mean, they were down Marquise Goodwin in this game, and we're looking at it saying, well, yeah, if those guys weren't injured, this roster would be crazy good. And let's be real here. With better coaching, I don't know, pick Sean Payton, Bruce Arians, Bill Belichick, they'd be better, but I don't know if they would be creme de la creme good, right? Would they be the Packers, Tampa Bay? Would they be the Los Angeles Rams? I don't think they've got that kind of juice in their roster, certainly not on the offensive line, but I digress. From there, the Bears immediately, because since it's 2nd and 10, right? Since we've got the ball on the 25-yard line, sticks are over here. First thing, of course, we've got to do is run the ball. So given that that's the play call, we're going to hand it off, and Montgomery is going to crawl forward for about 4 yards. Now, we'll speed watch some of the game later. Somebody that I want to point out, because he didn't really make an impact on the last play specifically, we'll get to more of him in a little bit, is Larry Borum. We've talked before about how Borum looked flat out lost in the running game, right? But in this play specifically, or at least this game, I thought Borum looked much more solid than he just about ever has. He seemed like not only did he know where he was going and what he was doing, but he also blocked with force and really went after it, I thought, really well. Just watch the way that he moves around and you'll already see him establishing those hands on his defender and driving through him, clearly putting effort into his running blocking. And I don't want to use the E word as if Borum wasn't putting in enough effort before. I hate that kind of logic, to be honest. It's more that when you see the way that Borum played football on this given afternoon, it's clear he was able to get a lot more power into his run blocking, into the way he moved his body, and that helped the Bears a lot. Here, Whitehair's going to ride his man across, Peters is going to ride his man across as well, and that creates a nice little backside seam that Montgomery cuts up the field for it, just about loses his balance, but still grinds out 4 yards, and what do you know, the Bears are here in 3rd and 6. Now, let's draw the play up that they're about to run. What they're going to try to do here is to get a mesh variant going, right? They want to see if they can't get, let me remember. Oh yeah, no, it should look like this. They're going to get a tight end coming across. They're going to get, I think it's Mooney here is going to stutter and he's going to go for sort of like a sail look. Then they've got, I think this is Jakeem Grant is going to stutter, come across for that mesh with, I believe it's Rodney Adams looking at the hook. So this is your standard mesh draw up, with this being the different part, right? Where instead of just having somebody pull across, you also have that potential deeper option in case you need it. That's at least what they're looking for. And
it works. I mean, Jesse James sets a pretty heavy-handed pick and gets Jakeem Grant wide open in the flat. Now, the ball is coming out on time. A safety's coming down at it. Would this have gotten the sticks if if Dalton completed it? Maybe, right? But when the throw's right there, you're definitely not getting the first down. And honestly, if you take a look at this throw's placement, had Jakeem not picked this or tipped this, I'm not sure it doesn't get picked anyways by the oncoming defender. Like, this is a gnarly throw that gets tipped into the air, picked, and I don't want to be like the game was over at this point. We don't need to be reductionist, right? But the Bears go run, pass to open up the game. I'll show you the freeze frame right here. I mean, Grant is open. I don't think anybody's asking that question. The mesh pick worked. They got 4 Arizona defenders all fouled up in that main thoroughfare, and Dalton's throw is just high and behind, like very high and very behind for a high throw. Because generally speaking, if you've got a man moving this way, even a high throw needs to at least be there so that your guy can go up for it in stride, and he won't get the first down, but he won't tip the ball quite like this. I don't know what Grant was thinking. Maybe he tried to pull it down with one hand and it didn't work out, but to suggest that this is somehow, because I've seen this on Twitter, right, on Grant is, in my opinion, being a bit ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, like you're saying, Ace, we got a lot of Andy Dalton's the GOAT, like the Bears would be a playoff team if Andy Dalton had been starting all season, talk on Twitter recently, which I don't think I need to cape for Justin Fields more than is relevant, but in this case specifically, goodness gracious, that throw was awful, pops right into the Cardinals' hands, and it's just bad. I mean, it's the sort of thing that where you say to yourself that if you were looking to set an offensive tone, you just did it wrong. You know, like, this is not it. The play call is not bad. Like, again, does Jakeem Grant have an automatic first down? Well, they've got a defender triggering pretty well. We've talked a lot about safeties on this channel, and he's coming downhill in a hurry. So would he have made the tackle had Grant caught it? Well, maybe. Like, it's very possible. Grant's a pretty slippery receiver, so he might have caught it and made a move. But even so, this is not the way to start a game, suffice to say. And so when it bounces off, pops into the defender's hands, it's really rough. But, I mean, that's the trouble with this, right? We could go through, we could talk, about every single throw. But at this stage, I would look at it and say, the Bears offense that we would talk about this evening is just running the ball surprisingly well. I mean, this is a perfect example, right? What we're talking about. When I say Arizona didn't play that well, plays like this are exactly what I'm looking at, where Kyler Murray is going to get a quick little bubble screen right here that's open, and when he goes to throw the ball, it just falls out of his hands. Like, we don't need to make the obligatory Kyler small hand, small person joke, right? I hear you, Twinquist. It was Dalton's first throw. The weather was pretty bad. But sometimes I feel like we've got to take the fairness blinders off and say, Kyler Murray, at the end of the day, was able to make throws that he needed to make, like that 4th and 3 that we'll go through in just a second here. But Dalton's first throw being an interception makes you wonder, and specifically being just hellishly inaccurate, makes you wonder if he'd properly warmed up. Maybe it was as simple as saying that he just got a bad grip on the ball. I'm more than willing. Like, you take a look at this field right here. We do not need to pretend that this is somehow the mark of a wonderful, lush, and dry football field. These were pretty crappy football conditions, and we don't need to act like they weren't. It's more that you only get so much grace for throwing 4 interceptions. And we don't need to just tank Dalton. I mean, if anything, I almost wish that I'd hit Fields' fumbles harder, but he's a rookie, and I have a soft spot for rookies. Also, by the way, on this play right here, the Bears actually cover pretty well, which would have worked awesome if Ogletree, for some reason, he's going to hold right here if you take a look at number 44. So just keep your eyes there, where as he goes to follow the man wrapping around on the scramble drill, he's going to hold, get a big old piece of his guy's jersey, who just about comes with him. And the Bears actually drew a hold over on this end that gets negated, and another potential defensive win could have forced third down becomes replaying the play, which is a huge bummer. Ogletree, I don't want to say he's been a hole. I mean, he's a camp body, but man, it's been a bit of a bummer. ILB2 has just been so otherworldly different than ILB1 in terms of the level of play that it just makes you a little sad, right? That whole theory that I know I've been coming out with, like, you can find ILBs anywhere. Apparently not. At least not in coverage, and I think we knew that. If anything, Ogletree helps prove Roquan's value a little bit. But so, from there, I mean, the Cardinals were not dominant, right? Second play, I think going through these first couple drives really helps tell the story, because it wasn't a lot of the Bears' successful offense late that I think really sold the way that this game worked. I think that this game was primarily defined what happened in the opening pieces of it, where, as we're going to see right here, this is actually a really nice play. Let's go back just one play. I know I'm being a little scatterbrained, but ride with me. Travis Gibson makes a really nice play, as does Blackson. Both of these guys are going to control their one-on-one matchup pretty doggone well as far as running assignment go. Like, take a look at this. Blackson has full control and is clearly denying this gap, which forces the running back over here. But Gibson, you're going to see him use that long arm and work back inside. This is just team running defense, right? I love watching this kind of thing. It's the trench work that makes it so fun. And if I'll call it a defense or a good piece of defense, I can only hope that I'll call it the same way on the other side, because Blackson, number 90, has been, I feel like, what we wanted Goldman to be. I wouldn't call him some brick wall, like absolute brick house against the run, quite like we saw on or like we saw in Eddie Goldman's 2018 heyday. But Blackson's been so consistent, more so consistent than, say, Nichols, who's getting double teamed here. So you got to have some soft spot for him. I know I could never handle a double team. That's for doggone sure. But even so, Blackson does such a good job of commanding two gaps and creating that running back hesitation that Gibson, who wins his matchup on the outside, is able to work in, make the tackle. You love to see development from number 99, right? But so, and then is somebody asking, because now that we've got the font so turned down, I have to wait a little bit. And yeah, we can point out for sure that Quinn lines up, let's say, very aggressively, and is clearly teaching his compadres to do the same, but they've got no issue with it. I mean, the refs are letting it go. And so if it ends you with a sack in almost every game, which, by the way, they gave Quinn his sack, that works out. And we're okay with that. But so this leads us to third, and it's short. That's all I know. It's like first down marker somewhere over here. And I actually feel like the Cardinals just call a great play. This is going to happen sometimes, right? Where they're going to call an inside dig, and maybe number 21 on the Bears could do a better job defending it. Maybe. Like, he would have to fall off, recognize that he's leaving the middle of the field open, and get there. Maybe Gibson could drive down, though, as you're going to see, he starts to drive down pretty much as I've now signaled it out, like he's coming down on it. But they just creep a defender right into the open middle of the field, which in a middle field open defense is where you're often going to attack things, and they get about, it's not all the yards to gain. They're 3 short, so the Bears feel like they come away with a win here because it's 4th and 3, and the Cardinals do too, getting a little bit of that extra yardage, right? So I feel like this was sort of one of those, like, stalemate, good plays on both sides. Like, the defense rally tackled and forced the 4th down. The offense got their way to a 4th and 3, and Kingsbury makes the aggressive decision that he's going to go for it, right? And we all know what happened on the result of this play. This is the one where you're going to see Nuke Hopkins just dart down the sidelines. And I mean, check out this throw. You want to talk about bad weather? Kyler Murray rose to the challenge here. That is unbelievable. We'll watch it from the back end. And then I'll go through, I guess, my biggest problem with it. But so Bears are playing a 4th down defense. This throw is unthinkable. I mean, bad weather paints the corner of the end zone. Can that be any better? Like, it's just phenomenal. It truly doesn't get better than that. And Hopkins makes a great catch on it right over Jaylen Johnson. And I don't want to say, again, it would be reductionist to say, and from there the game was over. But from there the game was on thin ice, because you're talking about a 9-2 team that is taking on a 4-7 team at home. The Bears took a big hit off of that early interception, and and the 4th and 3 touchdown did not help. Now, could Jaylen Johnson have done better on this play? Kinda. I mean, this has been the big Jaylen Johnson quandary, right? I don't think Jaylen is not worthy of the title of CB1. I think Jaylen Johnson is a perfectly capable corner, and if you asked me to rank him, I'd probably put him somewhere between 20th and 10th best corner in the NFL, more than likely. I mean, if I would need to watch more corners, obviously, truly. Like, I want to be clear about how that ranking has a lot of haziness to it. The problem Johnson is running into is a similar problem that we see in offensive tackle, right? Where being a CB1 means that you have to line up against DeAndre Hopkins. It means you have to line up against, oh my gosh, Devontae Adams. It means that you've got to line up against the other team's best receiver. Justin Jefferson is another good example of a guy you're going to have to line up against. Odell Beckham Jr. It was Jamar Chase, T. Higgins at one point, and Johnson won the matchup very handily. I mean, you've got to face some talent on that side. So when Nuke gets an outside release and bullies you down the field, I'm not about to pretend that I feel like he should do better. I mean, when we talk about Jaylen Johnson being an ideal CB2, I think the primary reason that most of us say that is because we think that Johnson's a very good corner that would be even better if there was somebody stronger on the roster that could handle those A1 matchups, because he'll eat just about any wide receiver 2 alive out there. But where I think I'm a bit frustrated in this case is that what you're going to see is that you're going to see that the Bears drop into sort of a quarter half look with Tashawn Gibson. I have been screwing that up so often, right? But we've got Tashawn Gibson over here on that right side, and I feel like, as far as like you remember on this channel, we've talked about how Tashawn Gibson has a bad habit of guarding grass. Well, I think that habit bites him again here, where Gibson's going to drop into his zone. And don't get me wrong, he's like in his zone. Sure. Like, the grass is covered, but with no threat really coming into his area of the field. You've got people crossing here. This number 4 is so far away from the play. The only real threat that I feel like Gibson should be thinking about is DeAndre Hopkins over here. Now, it's not Gibson's fault, right? Technically, I don't think that in a cover 2 defense, or in a he's playing cover 2 to his side of the field. Cover 2 doesn't normally have that safety helping at all on deep verts up the sidelines. So it's not like Gibson should be there. The question is that you ought to ask yourself, because I know how I think about it, is what do you want your safety to do? And me personally, I would love to either have seen Gibson commit down here to this crossing route so that he's covering that up, or take a look, see that the quarterback is staring down Hopkins all the way, and then get to the sidelines to help out a little bit. In the end, you end up where Gibson's so far away from the play that if this was a bad throw, he wouldn't have been impactful anyways, and the Bears end up defending with more or less 11 guys. Now, that I have to mention purely because Tashawn Gibson's grass guarding habit really bothers me. But it's not even like, I'm with you, Ace. I hear you. It's not the best throw in the first place. But exactly like you're saying, Sean, in my opinion, I feel like once you see Murray staring down Hopkins, as a receiver or as a safety, you could have started shading over to that side just in case, especially with Hopkins getting an outside release. Maybe at least taking a peek that way and seeing what he was doing, because I think just one look would have told you, oh, it's a go. I better get there. But that's more me nitpicking, because this ultimately falls on a great quarterback and a great receiver making a great play. I mean, this is a tough throw. We have to tip our cap where that credit's due. It's not easy to replicate this. And if Fields had made this throw, our eyes would have popped out of our heads. You know what I mean? But I can't not mention that the safety feels like he kind of didn't do anything purely because I feel like it's a Bears breakdown. We got to talk about it. Some extra investment at both corner and safety certainly wouldn't bother me in this offseason, because the longer I watch Deshaun Gibson, the longer I feel like the fact that defense or offenses largely just ignore where number 4 is and attack where number 38 is seems like a problem that you would want to solve. But that's just me. But so from there, the Cardinals are obviously up. They're up big, or not like big, but they're up 7-0 through one drive per side. Again, just a beautiful throw. Wow. But that brings us to the second offensive drive, which goes a little better, in a sense, and kind of goes a little worse. A little more positives to break down here, where, like we talked about, Cardinals kind of looking, I don't want to say worse for wear, but they're definitely not playing at the level that I think you would expect a 9-2 team to reach. But so, getting back to it here, we've got a great run on this one by David Montgomery. I think, let me check the old note sheet of Rooney. Yeah, this is just a great run, period, where you're going to see Peters do a really good job. You're going to see the tight ends fight hard. It's this left side of the line that springs this. Looks like Jesse James, Peters, and Whitehair, that as they get going, they take advantage of a relatively light left side box right there. Watch this as they get going. You'll see Peters and James work to get this guy across. Once they do, Peters is able to sustain that leverage. James in particular does a really good job at that point, pushing the guy over and immediately then working back to block the guy I've got highlighted right here. And Montgomery's able to creep right through the hole and pick up about 9 after contact. But so it's sweet. I mean, these kinds of runs are great, right? But you could legitimately watch these all the time. This is really good outside zone technique by Jesse James in particular. Like, this is one of the better tight end examples I think that we've seen of how does a tight end help in blocking. His ability to help get that, or like get Peters the leverage that we want him to have, because you want him stopping that lane right there and then working back pretty much creates the hole on his own. So that's a big play by 18's point that I hadn't really seen quite so clearly. And yeah, Nynisha, I think the real question mark for Tariq Cohen in particular is just a matter of whether he's going to come back to looking like what he normally looks like as a player. But so this run doesn't go too far. One thing that I feel like the Cardinals did really well, I've asked myself, okay, as a defensive coordinator, how do you try to stop an outside zone attack? What do you do? And one thing that the Cardinals mixed in a lot, I actually loved this, is that they'd come at the Bears with these wide, what are called bear fronts. Now, they're called bear fronts because the Bears used to run them way back in the day. I think, what is it? Help me, Bears historians, but I think it was the 85 Bears that popularized the bear front with 5 linemen down. But because they've got them stretched so far to the edge out here, they are able to make plays on outside zone runs, because when everybody fades this way, for instance, there's just nobody assigned to that guy. And so since he's free, that tests David Montgomery to go get the guy, and the end man on line of scrimmage just makes a great play on the runner. So I don't feel like that shuts down the Bears outside zone running attack, but it definitely was something where if I was you as a Bears fan, I would be watching for that to see what the Bears do, or what the Packers do, what any team playing the Bears does, because we've seen that the Bears are an outside zone heavy team, and that does such a good job of shutting that run style down when your end man line of scrimmage can attack like that it's definitely something that I would keep an eye out for. But so let's see here. So almost immediately, then the Bears are stuck in this one wasn't third down. This is actually on a first down, and the Bears kind of luck out. I don't want to. Yeah, Eric, I know what you mean. I'm by no means looking to make anybody feel particularly old. But so Dalton gets this ball out. Mooney takes a big big shot, reminiscent. I'm sure you guys remember the same thing of when this was Mitch Trubisky, and he would roll out, pitch the ball to Cole Kmet, and like we saw in that playoff game, people would just get lit up coming downhill. But Bears draw a 15-yard penalty off of a head-to-head hit that I don't feel like it was that bad, but the last thing that I want to do is sit here and act like one hit is too light, one hit's too hard. The Bears will take the penalty anyway it comes. So almost immediately they hop out in the pistol with the Wildcat. That's Andy Dalton out there on the sidelines. This is David Montgomery. And because it's the Bears and they can't seem to have anything nice, we're going to see something that I didn't catch on the live broadcast, as Sam Mustipher is actually going to put the ball into the dirt right there and blow up a potential read option play. So David Montgomery has to collect it after Jakeem Grant has gone well past the mesh point, meaning I have no idea where this run was supposed to go. Was it supposed to be an outside hitter with potential to break inside? You tell me, but David just picks up the ball and tries to run it wherever he can and grabs about 3 yards off the spot, but you obviously want your shotgun snap center to be able to deliver a shotgun snap regardless of who it's to. And the Bears get 3, so not so bad. This immediately hops us into a second down, and the Bears are going to come back at it with a play action hit right here where it's just a deep scissor. It's nothing crazy. But why, Bears fans, do we like it when the Bears go deep, when they call these vertical patterns? Sure, theoretically for Justin Fields, it might be throws downfield. But the primary reason we like them is because when you run these vertical patterns and you've got 55, 58, Jordan Hicks, these guys all dropping all the attention on the deep parts of the field, what's open? You'd better believe it's this massive check down lane. And so Dalton's going to step up. He's going to find David Montgomery opting out of the pocket, immediately turn around and just whoop, just dive right on up the field and grab a first down. These are the kinds of things that I hope that Justin Fields is watching. Honestly, if there's something that I think Fields could really learn from Dalton's game, it's that Fields sometimes has a tendency to take this running lane, and that's great and all. But I think Fields could do a lot to learn that as the quarterback, everybody's eyes are on you. So once you break that pocket, you've got defenders that are going to come at you. And I actually think that often, especially as a running quarterback, you can generate a bigger gain by taking that extra step, firing the ball to your check down, and letting somebody who nobody was watching, that's why they were open, take the ball and go grab some yardage from it. Montgomery's a phenomenal check down back. He's not playing on Sunday night, which is going to be a real bummer. But you see there that I think that I heard a statistic at one point that said 50% when a team calls, let's say that this is, we're going to draw out 4 verticals. When a team calls 4 verticals, approximately 50% of the time, that ball goes to the check down. That's almost the target on this play. And in that same vein, on play action deep shots and anything of the like, being able to utilize those check down options is key as a quarterback and something that I hope Fields can do a little bit of. But so on this play, next play up, as the Bears are trying to mount that big answering drive, right? You're going to see Daniels get beat. It's been pretty rare overall. Does the hash and no, they do. But so 97's going to beat Daniels around the edge right here. Really nice move. Dalton steps up and tries to break away from some tackles, but ultimately moves forward and sits on down. Yes, I think that's where I heard it, Ace. That it probably was JT O'Sullivan. Thank you for helping me credit him. But so then the Bears move on to second down, and this is borderline miraculous, what you're about to see, because Herbert takes a tackle from the end man line on scrimmage and just shrugs it off. And I don't know how he did it. Like, let's take a moment and bask in this, because Dalton's going to hand this ball off, and I don't understand how the end man on line on scrimmage makes this hit right here, 44, full wrap, right? Like, dead to rights. And Herbert just kind of shrugs it off, like full video game, right? But I thought this one was funny because the Bears are once again calling a 2nd and 10, or I think, yes, it's a 2nd and 10 run. And the only reason it's successful is because Herbert apparently turns into mist and just worms his way out of a tackle, ends up picking up 7 yards and setting up 3rd and 3. So, in a classical sense, they're going to, I believe it, Case. Borum out here is going to move. He's going to create a little bit of space. The Bears pick up 1st down. It's slow. It's methodical at the most positive way you could say it. The Bears are not picking up these yards in chunks. The biggest play they've had of this drive was Mooney taking a helmet-to-helmet hit and then moving the ball about 18 yards downfield in total. But watching not just the way that Borum moves, the fact that he and Graham are actually able to just generate that little 3-yard window because it's 3rd down and 3, but Borum and Daniels on that right side are able to just push the ball up the field enough to generate that 1st down. So then we've got this next one. It's a pretty quick shutdown run, which is not great, right? But one thing I found really interesting, we've talked before on this channel about how when the Bears hit outside zone, right? When they work to that left side, one of their favorite places to attack is wherever the backside is. So the back will cut back and try to take whatever he can get on the backside of the play. Well, if you watch 58 right here, they've clearly been studying tape because you're going to see him shade over on an outside run, or outside zone run designed to hit this way and stop that backside. Take a look at this. This was wild to me. But so that outside handoff comes and Hicks just waits, denies that backside and forces the one-on-one, forces the issue. Daniels can't quite get enough of it. And 98, who had a really, really good game, or 97, I thought honestly that the Arizona front played really well. I saw good things from 98. I saw good things from 97. I did not have the time to look up who those are on the roster. So if y'all know, feel free to say so, but they stuck out to me in terms of players playing really, really good football. But so from there, the Bears get a pretty standard passing attack play where they're just going to go curl here. Yes, increment 1 of the curl counter with, I think it's Cole Kmet running right here. He's not like running a curl so much as like a natural pick route for Montgomery, who's just going to do like a quick little bubble. But so Dalton takes a look, sees the curl's blocked. I'm not throwing there. Takes a look over here. The defender's following commit upfield. Easy throw to Montgomery. And so he checks it down. It's not even like a check down. It's just the look. And Montgomery picks up a nice and easy 4 yards. So solid, or like decent play overall. Sets up 3rd and 6. It's not the one that you want, but it's the right read, according to that play. Is a little weak sauce for the down and distance. Kinda, but I mean, Bob, it's not all curls because you got that little flat smoke, or like that smoke. But I guess, you know what? If you wanted to call a route like this a curl, I'll let you because it's the Nagy offense, right? But yeah, I mean, is this the deep hitting play that you want on 2nd down? Is this like the smash concept with a potential backside option that could pull you like a double post there so that you got a triple post 1, 2, 3 against 2 safeties and you potentially test that inside corner? It's not. This is just Andy Dalton quick game. So he takes a look there, doesn't like it, takes a look there, likes what he sees, gets the ball downfield, and just bada boom, pick up what you can. And then the drive's capped off with this. You remember how we laughed the other week? Yep. Marshall, you better believe. You check right in. We're talking Bears offense. We're talking about curls. But so you'd better believe that the Bears and the Bears fan base, and maybe me, maybe I did this. You remember how we laughed and laughed and laughed against the Baltimore Ravens when Mark Andrews, very good tight end, dropped a ball right into Deshaun Gibson's hands? Well, we sure paid for it here, didn't we? Where even on the All-22, you watch this play, it is a bit flabbergasting that Kmet takes a ball that hits him right here, and the Arizona Cardinals end up just roaring all the way downfield with it. I remember watching this, and I don't know what was going through your head, but I was a bit stunned. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Did that really just happen? Where ball comes out right here. It's a neat little way, or it's a neat little like separation generated by Kmet. Look at all that space he made for himself. Like, people talking about how he can't separate on man and zone routes. Like, hey, you know what? This is a nice step forward. I want to cheer for Cole Kmet, but you can't be dropping balls like this. Bad weather. Of course it is. But he fumbles the ball straight into a defensive back's hands. Like, look, it's not even a technique question. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sit here and act like I'm dunking on Kmet for rational reasons. You know what I mean? You just don't want to take a ball that hits you right here and tip it up and backwards into a defender's hands. And hey, credit to Dalton. Like, credit to 14, right? Like, rips all the way down the field, forces the tackle that's in the video's thumbnail, and it's not a touchdown yet. You know what I mean? But like you're saying, A-Song, I do feel like this was one of those Kmet plays where you look at and it's like, oh, I'm a little bummed that like he keeps seeming to show up on the wrong end of things. I'm with you on whoever said it's not the greatest throw in the world. It's not. But I am starting to feel like there's an aspect, like, I'll say this for Fields, I'll say this for Dalton. I'm really going to try to keep this as consistent as possible, where when you throw, because it's mostly the speed of the throw that I'm thinking about, right? When a throw is as catchable, it's not a fastball, it's not a ripper, right? Like, it's bad weather, and it's a relatively lollipop throw. He's got plenty of time to line it up. He just kind of tries to body catch it, doesn't come down with it, tips it back one. I'm with you, Case. I don't think Dalton expected Kmet to jump wide open out to the right like that, but even so, the quarterback wide receiver connection is good enough. And by quarterback wide receiver, obviously quarterback receiver. Like, Dalton throws the ball, Kmet adjusts to it. It's a first down until it isn't. And the Bears are behind again, right? I don't remember. Bob Cheese, let me take a look at that. But so, let me peek here. Where's that second interception? Yes. As a matter of fact, there was a flag on the field. The flag was illegal formation. So even had they caught that, it wouldn't have counted, which is pretty much how this season's going, right? And so from there, the Cardinals remind us exactly why it is that Bears fans are so excited about having a 4-4 threat at quarterback, as Kyler's going to read Robert Quinn right there, escape, and, I mean, just about score a touchdown. Eddie Jackson actually saved a couple touchdowns on the day. Like, not to be that guy, right? But number 4 has been criticized in the past by a very infamous commenter on this channel for, like, not being goalie enough. And he showed up on the right end of a lot of plays in this one. But Kyler's mobility is just special. I mean, like, I love watching Kyler run the football. Kyler's fun. He's not only an athletic, or like, he's not only a talented thrower of the football. To me, watching Kyler Murray is like watching, so imagine for a second, do y'all remember how in 2017, I think it was 17, but Tariq Cohen threw 2 touchdowns, right? I think he threw one to Deion Sims, like a 27-yarder, and then he threw one somewhere else. I can't remember where. And then he also threw that 2-point conversion. So imagine if Madden, right, made like a special edition, 99 overall, perfect quarterback rating Tariq Cohen, because he's never thrown an incompletion in his life, right? That player is Kyler Murray. Like, I wish I was kidding. Kyler Murray is like watching Tariq Cohen's footwork with a surprisingly good quarterback attached to it, given how unbelievably good with his feet that he is. I mean, the throw that he made for that first 4th and 3 touchdown is outstanding. This kind of run, it looks like he's just gliding around people, right? That quick little footwork is just so dangerous. It's hard to stop. So, to be fair to the Bears, I don't want to say they didn't have any chance, right? It's more that when you put the ball in Kyler's hands, it's pretty hard to get him down. But so from there, Kyler hands the ball off. They go pick up some more yardage. I don't want to say again that it's a ho-hum drive, but yeah, Gregory, I'm with you. Arizona got way too good field position. I actually would tell you with a very straight face that I think that the Bears, this is shocking to say, right? If you take out the interceptions, which are 4 huge plays, I think the Bears might have actually turned in the better day. Like, Arizona made way too many mistakes. Like, so they get down here in the goal line. This is actually a very decent example. We'll just speed watch this. They hand the ball off. They drop the ball at the mesh point, right? You can't be doing that. Like, whether it's the playoffs, bad weather, all of it. Absolutely, right? But so you can't drop the ball at the mesh point. Whatever. You lose a down. You lose a yard. You move on. It's second down, right? So you live with it. But Arizona just made a few too many mistakes that the Bears weren't able to punish. Like on second down, they run a quick little corner route to the end zone. It's not open. Credit to the Bears defense. Like, it looks basically like this, just a quick scissor, and the Bears DBs stick with it. So you see a really good job of Burns not picking off his guy, as I think that's Crawford, is able to generate just a tough enough throwing lane that the ball comes out on time, but it's just not there. And yes, Adamola, Quinn got sack credit on the other one, like on the first play of the game, but that's a different one. But so then it's third down for Arizona, and they make a mistake. Like, this would be a very Nagy moment, right? Where they come out, they can't quite get lined up properly, and I think they take a false start on this play. But so, yeah, you could see 56 just flinch really quickly as the flag is going to come up, and they go from 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 9. So you would hope, as a Bears fan, that that we could get the Cardinals off the field, right? Because you can't allow a team to make a 5-yard mistake, double the distance that they got to go, and on 3rd and goal, right? Let them back into the end zone. We already let them in on 4th and 3, but you can't let them in on 3rd and 9 if you can. But so let's see. I think they do, song. But yeah. So then Kyler drops out. You're going to see the Bears do a really good job with a quick concept that's just curls. They've got a quick post here. I think they've got another curl where they're just trying to, I think they were trying to get 10 open in the back of the end zone. But so they don't. Kyler rolls out. And what you're going to see here that, look, you tell me what you're thinking. I'll tell you where my head's at. I'm very surprised Jaylen Johnson specifically doesn't attack on this 3rd and 9, because 21 has a direct assignment. Jaylen Johnson has passed his guy off to the safety, to Sean Gibson. This guy right here, I can't remember who it specifically is. It might be Ogletree, but so he's got his man matched up. Somebody's got to play Kyler Murray. You can't just let Kyler Murray run. And that's actually what Johnson does. So would this guy have been open? Maybe. Would 21 have been open? Maybe. But when Johnson doesn't commit and stays back to try to protect the pass, Murray just walks right on into the end zone, and it's 7 points the other way. Not ideal. I don't think anybody's pretending it is. It's a tough play, though. I mean, to be fair to Jaylen, this is a very, very tough one. I don't know who's supposed to trigger. Brandon, I see that you just jumped in. I really wouldn't mind your opinion here. Should Jaylen Johnson on this 3rd and 9, once he passes off his route assignment, have attacked downhill to try to at least get Kyler to dump the ball off? Because remember, the line of scrimmage is right here. Like, you've got a pretty decent trigger distance at some point to get downhill. But exactly, I mean, like, this is a tough one, because right there, you're pretty much free to attack should you want to. But Kyler's so dangerous. I mean, he puts just a quick little stutter step right there that would freeze anybody. It freezes Jaylen immediately and gets instant access to that corner. He's just unbelievable. Like, this is exactly the same advantage that Bears fans are hoping that one of these days Fields can offer, where a clear broken play, like, let's just go ahead and freeze frame at the point of, let's call it the point of emphasis, I guess, where you've got a fade down the sideline, that door's closed. You've got a curl right here, that door's closed. Curl here, that door's closed. Curl here, maybe a curl here, maybe like a curl in option, door closed. Post, door closed. You should have a dead play. But because you've got Kyler Murray at quarterback, as an Arizona Cardinals fan, you're able to just plant the ball in the end zone because you darn well feel like it. And bang, there you go. Like, it's that easy. But so somebody has to commit downhill at that point. But I mean, Kyler's making people look like fools all the time. Exactly like Brandon's saying. Oh, one thing that I forgot to point out, and this is just because I'm salty about it, okay? So we're gonna take one more look at the Kmet interception because I forgot to point out. I think one of the more like, if Sam Mustipher wanted a career in comedy, which he doesn't, he probably takes himself very seriously, as he should. He's an NFL player. He's gotten dramatically further in the NFL than I ever will. That's for doggone sure. But I want you to watch from the tight angle Sam Mustipher on this specific play, because if it's not going to make you go, oh, that's a bummer, it will. Like, take a look at number 67, who's going to snap the ball. He's going to be challenged by nobody, right? And he's just going to fall over, which it's sad. And I'm kind of beating a kid while he's down. That really bums me out. But the Bears right now have me looking towards the future, and I just don't know how you could see 67 and be like, he's definitely part of the starting role. Like, bad snaps, falling over at absolutely random points. Like, if I was a PFF grader, which I am not, this would be a -2 in my book. Like, this is rough. And stuff like that, it just woof. But it, like, just falls right over, and then the interception happens on the back end. This is up there in the Bears Hall of Fame of worst plays for a lot of reasons. And that was just not good. Not good, Pop. But so yeah. From there, the Bears actually put together a pretty decent drive. Like, they really do. Like, the irony is that they come out of that one and they put together some decent stuff, right? But is it enough? I mean, that's the question. We'll talk about truly one of the positives right here. Like, check out Larry Borum on this particular play. Bears are going to run, like, I actually don't know what you'd call it. Maybe it's outside zone, but you definitely don't see anybody penetrating up the field. But you're going to see Borum wrap around, deny that angle right there, create that little wall for Montgomery to run through, and bada boom, just rips downfield for a gain of 15. Take a look at this tight angle. This one's fun, right? Like, Borum looked so unbelievably lost in his early film. So unbelievably lost, right? But on plays like this, check out that movement. It's so much better. Like, we don't need to make a mountain out of a molehill. We don't need to act like plays like this are just like, wow. We don't need to act like plays like this are Hall of Fame worthy or crazy. But Borum looked like he had no idea what he was doing. Like, starting when he played, he had no clue where he was going, what to do with his hands. He looked like on pass sets, he knew his role. And on run sets, he was just kind of there, right? Consistently blocking the wrong person, not great at looking for work. I mean, I could go on. Borum looked like a transformed player. A-Song, Tevin Jenkins got 2 snaps on PATs. And so we can go through them if that's really what we want to do, John. But I'd need to go fish them out. But so, like, you watch 75 here, and he does a great job. Again, you don't need to build a bust, but his footwork looks better. He's getting more power out of his stance. He's actually making an impact. He's somebody that you can trust to execute an assignment, and that's such a good step forward for a 5th round pick that was playing well in the past and so on and so forth. Like, this was exactly Case. I mean, like, he did a great job in this game. He looked massively improved. He didn't fall down. I mean, hey, his mom being his biggest fan, that's awesome, man. Like, having a mom that's involved is just so cool. But so on this one, you're going to see Borum get kind of blasted. I mean, it's not Borum's fault on this one, as far as I can tell. Like, what you're going to see is that the Bears run another play where they're going to pull a guard. So they're going to pull James Daniels over this left side of the field. And 94 here feels to me like he must read it, because you're going to see him rip so hard to that inside. Maybe it's just the right defensive play call. Maybe. But once you get to that kind of leverage point on a tackle like Larry Borum, you probably won. And he did. Like, he knifes so hard into the backfield that he stifles Montgomery's movement on a run that's clearly supposed to hit towards that left-hand side. And I wouldn't put that particularly on, what is it? Like, I would not look you guys in the eyes and be like, that's a Borum. Sometimes defender makes a really nice play, and 94 here absolutely does. Just rips right through the hole where no one is. Maybe he was looking to go towards that anyways. Sometimes you make a good play and it's all luck. Mustafer, not terrible, but it's not like anything does, or like it's not like this makes a big impact either way. So on to second down, and they just run a basic kick out play to Montgomery. The Bears at this point, I'm going to have to remind me, friends, to go look up Dalton's next gen stats. I haven't done it yet, but Dalton did so little throwing down the field in this game. It was wild. Maybe it's because it was wet and gross. That could absolutely be a part of it, but it was a little nuts just how little they wanted Andy Dalton working downfield. I mean, I don't want to use the big E word, embarrassing, but it's not as if Dalton's play was helping him. I mean, like, that was one of the longest air yards completions he's had to this point in the game, partially because there hadn't been a whole bunch of completions. But again, this exact kind of play goes back to the idea of, if there's something I would love to see Justin Fields learn here and there, it's that you can trust your checkdowns. Because the Bears are going to call, I mean, yes, look, is it curls and also curls and a split out and or like a post out there to the too high area? Yes, but that does open up this check down route, and it doesn't take a beautiful throw for Dalton to like step up in the pocket, just flick the ball to his guy and pick up a third down. Not all third downs have to be pretty. Also, Borum gets bullied a little bit here. Like, one thing that I don't want to suggest that I know the future. I don't know Borum's career path. This kind of step forward says that he could be a lot of things, and the name that I'm about to use is charged with so much anger, right, that I hope that we all take it all right? But I think there's a chance that Larry Borum could have a career that's very similar to Charles Leno, right? I think Charles Leno was a lot better left tackle than a lot of people thought he was, right? I think Borum here could become a relatively quick-footed, like very solid, edge tackler, or edge tackler. Come on, Robert. Basically, I think Borum could do a really good job of getting side to side on either guy, pushing somebody downhill when they go that way, keeping them inside when they go that way. But as far as just presenting a physical force or a physical threat, right? I don't think that's ever going to be Borum's game, and it never was Leno's either, right? So here, for instance, Marcus Golden is going to get his hands inside of Borum and then immediately just get shoved, but it's not a sack, right? Is it pressure? Yes. This is pressure that we complained a lot about when Leno would get walked right into Mitch's face, right? But it's not a sack. And Dalton steps right up in the pocket, as you would expect a pro quarterback to do, flicks the ball to David Montgomery, and partially because Borum is able to control his man, ends up pushed all the way back. And exactly, James. I mean, so somebody... I can't tell if the comment about football team fans liking Leno is honest, Adelia, or Ademola, purely because I hear two things from Bears fans, right? Let's get... Nope. All right, so I tend to hear two things from Bears fans talking about Charles Leno right now. They either say, ask Ryan Fitzpatrick what he thinks of Charles Leno, or they say, actually, he's been pretty good. And I tend to see more the latter, though Leno did get Fitzpatrick hurt, which happens when you're a tackle. But the main key point that I'm really trying to say about Borum is that he might be rounding into a real NFL offensive tackle. Not that he wasn't already. He just needed this running game step like we saw. And he made it against Arizona. He didn't make it against the Lions. He didn't make it against some no-name team that has nobody on it. Like, he looks better. He looks like he knows where he's going. He looks like somebody that could grow from here. And if he gets better, great. Right? If he gets even better than this, you'll take it. But right now, Borum looks like, let's put it this way. If I was to put a phrase on Borum's play right now, it's not a liability. And to me, that's a compliment. Like, when you are, when you're an offensive lineman that is flat out medium, that's good. because it's tough to be an asset in the NFL. You have to go up against very good players, and you have to make really tough blocks. But when you're reliable enough to be not a problem, when you don't need help on every other down, right? When you're able to get to your assignment, when you don't need those double teams constantly, when you can pull, you can go where you need to go, that's a good thing. And Borum out of the 5th round, right? Not drafted to be an impact player, drafted to be a starter, we hope, right? At this point, I'm very, very excited about where Borum's going, because the play that he showed that he could hit from here, I'm with you, James. Like, this is something to be excited about. I always want to be realistic at these moments. If I sound like I'm couching myself a lot, it's purely because I think that sometimes Bears fans can go, he's not a liability. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL. And we don't need to go there, right? Is Borum better than Jason Peters? I mean, probably will be next year, because I tend to doubt that Peters is going to be able to do this for forever, but he's not there yet. He had one good game. Peters has had a much better season than him on the whole, even with the 39-year-old lumps. But as far as a growth trajectory, or like projecting his growth, he's got to get stronger. Like, bull rushes like this are just going to keep going, right? These are the kinds of things that will continue at this stage, but steps in the right direction. Like, we're okay with that. But so at this point, I don't think he'll be late career Leno. That's not what I'm saying. Let's remember who he was in his early days, when he had almost 8 years of Iron Man play, holding down that left side and not making people think too hard about it, especially coming off of, I think it was the J-Web days. I think it was J-Web Nation that they were just coming off of. But so, let's see here. Moving forward, I mean, there were some pretty basic things, right? At this one, we've got another really good Borum run that we can go right on through. Let's see, Jamison Williams. I'd have to do a little more research, Quack Attack. But yeah, I mean, let's see right here. Like, take a look at him, or just jumping right on up. Because exactly like you're saying, Jordan, I mean, he needs to get better as far as striking goes, but what rookie doesn't? But so you take a look at Borum right here, open space, takes a look, identifies Jordan Hicks, jumps out, delivers enough of a hit. It's not about knocking the guy over. It's just about creating a lane. And boy, does he. And then here you go, Montgomery jumping out, ripping on down the field. How do you not love watching number 32, right? Like, 32 running the ball is just so much fun. You get a nice little assist, by the way, from Jimmy Graham, making a decent block on Marcus Golden. And James Daniels jumping out, sealing the edge. But you end up with a really, really nice like block by Borum. It's not about like proclaiming these blocks as some kind of Hall of Fame tier effort, right? It's more that he looks so much better on a play-to-play basis than he did against Pittsburgh, than he did against the Ravens. Like, look at that. Look at him. Like, check this out. What did they have to do to make Larry Borum kind of mean? Getting to the second level, thumping him, driving him back a couple, giving him an extra shove. Like, sure, it's just mental stuff, right? But Borum looked really good in this game. And if this is who he can be at this point, yes. Out of the 5th round, it would be yet another like big pace moment, right? Where at this stage, this run fails because it's another outside zone hit to the that side, whatever this is. This is the right, yeah, L's right. But so quick hit onto that side, gets the ball over. Daniels can't quite get enough of his guy, which happens sometimes. People talk like runs are a given. They're not, especially when you've got to make a tough block like that. But watching Borum's attitude on some of these runs is just kind of fun, right? Like, again, these are those lineups where, because they've lined up, what is this, a one tech? Big football nerds like me. I am only just now really starting to learn, like, the techs. This is a one, right? But because they've got a one tech on this inside position, they get a pretty good shot at it because Mustipher doesn't stop to help, nor do I think he's supposed to. Not on outside zone anyways. He just takes the snap and keeps going, right? But Daniels has a ridiculously tough reach block to hit on this point, and he does not hit it as Peters here gets the hole of him and moves on. But yeah, Exactly, Greg. You can't be shoving downfield on RPOs, not until Fields releases the ball. But so from there, let's see. This was a play that I feel like Bird should have caught. It's a pretty simple read. In fact, I'm actually pretty curious as to why Dalton doesn't throw it, because you're going to see Bird run a simple hook. It's just a hook and a flat, right? Like a curl flat play. And so Dalton reads it. He sees the curl taken up. He sees, like, you actually see his eyes turn to Herbert with a ton of open space. And maybe he thought that he could bait this guy down so that he could then throw to Bird. I almost feel like Dalton overthinks this, but he does. But he throws back to Bird, and he gets the ball a little lower than you want it. It's not a great throw, but looking at it from the wide angle or from the other angle, I feel like Bird could have come down with this. Bird has not had a phenomenal season. I also don't really know why he doesn't throw it to Herbert. Maybe he thinks it'd be boring. But it seems like he kind of just gets caught between. The throw goes, maybe it even, nah, it didn't. It hits the ground right there. But so Bird has a chance to come down with it. Doesn't. Happens, right? But so we'll go through this. Yeah. And then quick out right here. It's 3rd and 11. I want to point out the Bears call a screen, which, hey, I'm all for screens, you know, but on 3rd and 11 at the 30, maybe they were just looking for some yardage, but they call a quick jailbreak where they're going to try to get all these linemen out here. And number 8 just makes a really nice lateral play, like escapes all the way to that outside edge, dips in, or doesn't bite the dip inside, beats Grant to that outside edge, and you end up on 3rd and 11 picking up 3 yards, which is a bummer. Let's see. Even number are head up on the guy in front of you, and off numbers are shade tech. Yeah, no, I hear you, Nainisha. It's stuff that I want to study to just make sure I've gotten a little more locked down. But so at this stage, exactly like the Bears are at 4th and 8, big one to convert. And I actually feel like Arizona does a pretty poor job here. So I'll give you guys a second just to talk through it. All right, so it's 4th and 8, right? Here is the line of scrimmage. Let me draw the crappy line of scrimmage, Robert. You can do better than that. So here's the line of scrimmage. Here's the line to gain. You're facing the Nagy offense, right? What do you think they're going to run? Like, think about it. We've spent all year talking about the Nagy offense, tendencies, all the like, right? What do you think they're going to run? What do you think they're running? And what would you try to stop, right? What areas of the field would you try to take away? Because if it was me, as I'm seeing a whole lot of you guys jump in, remember, 4th and 8, trying to get some yardage here, I would probably try to take away the middle of the field curl, you know? Like, I wouldn't sit here and think to myself, oh, I think they're going to run an out. And if they did, I might let him have it. Make Dalton throw that, throw to the opposite hash in the weather. Instead, I would try to take advantage, or take this away. I'd try to take this away. I'd try to take this away. If it was me, I would sit a bunch of guys around this middle of the field and call a defense that puts you in place to do that, right? Instead, what the Cardinals call, to their credit, is a massive simulated pressure bailout where they're going to have a ton of these defenders running back to the line, or back at the line of scrimmage, in order to simulate an exotic blitz that I actually think overthinks the down, right? So all these defenders, 94 is getting out of there, 45 is getting out of there, 55 is getting out of there, right? They're all running backwards, but what it does is it actually puts defenders in a really tough position to try to watch the quarterback, watch the receiver, and get to a spot running backwards, which is fine, but it's tough to go from I'm running this way to breaking down and stopping the curl. And credit to Dalton and the offense, they find the window. I just can't help but feel like a more stale coverage that said, we know what you're running and we're going to take it away. Do something else. Might have worked, but I can't tell if I'm being an armchair defensive coordinator here. I just remember watching this thinking, I'm curious as to why Arizona trotted this out. Like, I really am, because Jakeem Grant running a basic curl over the middle is like the most Nagy call possible. It really is. Like, exactly the yards that they needed. And I hear you, Case. Like, that's what the Raiders did, and they blew it. And we properly critiqued the defenders at that point. It's just funny seeing this because the throw isn't even particularly good. If anything, I feel like Grant makes a really, really nice adjustment to get to that side. Sean, you read my mind. But the throw just about leads him into getting crunched. You could see it on the back end even clearer. I just feel like this was a really tough assignment for 44, I think it is. Nah, it's 45, the linebacker. But so as he fades off, trying to keep his eyes, he's even got his eyes in the right place. He's watching Grant. He knows it's a matter of when, not if. He just doesn't get there. And the throw leads him away from 45, so that piece of it's good, but Grant's having to dive for it just to get there. And I'm with you, Jordan. If you're wanting conflict-based plays, you're not going to get that in the Nagy offense. Like, that ship, it's sailed, right? We don't put defenders in conflict. We just call curls to various points of the field. But once you get past that and you get a bit nihilistic about it, that's it just sort of becomes the way of things, I guess. But so Bears work to get in the end zone here. They're going to, as a matter of fact. Like, let's see here. Solid win from Daniels on this one, who fights really hard. Borum again, looking like a solid technical blocker. Nothing crazy, right? Bryce, excited for you to be here. We will... Oh, man. Told my wife this was going to be an hour and a half. It's not going to be an hour and a half. But we'll get through this. We'll go through some of the interceptions. And then I do want to watch like just a little bit of Packers, right? I actually want to pop on my NordVPN thing. I want to go through a little bit of the Packers game against the Vikings. I'm very curious to see what that looked like. By the way, if you take a look at Mustafa here, he gets pretty well popped. Like on this play, he gets smoked by number 98, who drives him right back. Monty goes full Marion Barber and works his butt off to get 0 yards. Like, if you watch this play, I feel like Montgomery gets hit immediately, tries to gain some yardage, rips away from 3 tacklers, and fights back forward to get back to the middle of the field. But ends up with a gain of none, and then in a goofy twist of fate, the Bears, of course, are going to run one of the only plays that they seem to run modestly well, and that's mesh with a quick rail route to Darnell Mooney over here. And so they actually catch this defender in conflict, and this looks really, really easy when they do it like this. So the mesh comes through, they get Bird wide open in the middle of the field. Look at that beautiful mesh pick. Yes, Jordan, it's on the Kmet pick. It hurts. But so they catch this CB in conflict. It's 3rd down. Bears picked up a lot of 3rd downs. Like, that was the goofy part of this game. They were as efficient as you could ask them to be, especially on those key downs. But it still felt to me like they just got flat beat, like licked, whipped, whatever football-y word you want to use. And then, hey, you want to see something exciting from number 75? Check out 75 and 68 setting up a walk-in touchdown as Borum's just going to jump out, bully his guy off the ball, and create an easy lane that I could have scored in. And I mean that one, seriously. Like, check out 75 right here. Is he hitting the biggest player in the world, Justin Simmons? He's not, but he blows him well off the ball, creates a very, very easy running lane. Like, he just looks so much better. So much better. He looks like a different player. Honestly, if you told me at this stage that this was Larry Borum's 2nd year, I'd believe you. Like, if you blindfolded me, took me into the hyperbolic time chamber, for any of you Dragon Ball Z fans right there. I'm with you, James. Isaiah Simmons on Borum is unfair, but I don't think Borum was even winning those matchups like last week or weeks ago. Seeing him succeed even against like smaller defenders, we take it. And this, it's an easy assignment where he goes with the flow of the play, plants his foot, works backwards, pushes Isaiah Simmons out of the way, and it doesn't get easier. But so it works great. But so anybody know Jenkins' number? Because he might be in on this one. Might. Let's see here. He's not 65. Is he 76? Is this him right there? Because we haven't seen a 76 at this point. But so, holy moly, he's big. Like, credit to the scouting department, I guess. He visually looks like a 2nd round pick. Let's see if he does anything particular. So not really. He just slid over. But so there you go. Let's see here. Somebody said 73. I don't think it's 73. Yeah, it's 76. He just slides on over and kind of hits the man a little bit. I have no idea if that's something that Tabor taught him, but maybe. I don't know. But it's clearly not 65, Romeo. That's Cody Whitehair. Come on. But so, anyways, we'll watch this last drive. We're just going to straight watch it live before we move on. Then we can answer some questions. So just go ahead and get ready, or like go ahead and get ready with questions that we can answer about this game. But now that we've got like the rest of us here, I'll repeat what I said at the very top of the show. The complicated part about this game, right? Did Peter ask? Let me see. Let's see. Was it just me, or did White is the wrong guy? Nanisha, I'm a little curious. Or what are you asking? What Peter? Like, and yeah, I think I'm just a little confused. But so it did look like Tevin's base was too wide for sure. But I'm not gonna get too crazy about a PAT snap. But so that's just me. Yeah, absolutely, John. Hall of Fame for Tevin Jenkins. So the complicated part about this game is that outside of, say, Larry Borum and the occasional play, like occasional shining moments from defenders, the trouble with this game in general is that it's the backup quarterback playing in crappy weather with an offense that is probably not going to be run exactly the same way by Justin Fields that doesn't matter too much. Yes, Bryce, I think any quarterback has to own their game in the rain. I mean, at least I think so, because Kyler gets to own his game. He had a couple of gnarly drops, but made some gorgeous throws all the same, and made whatever plays he could as he went through it. But so the key that I want to talk about here, and we'll just reiterate, is the idea that, yeah, Jordan, of course. Like, of course we got to calm down on Tevin Jenkins. I'm not even certain that he's healthy yet. Like, I would love to see Tevin get some reps here in the later parts of this season, but they don't need to be immediately. As long as he gets 3 games, I'll take it, because he's coming off of back surgery, for crying out loud. Like, at this stage, I would look at it and say, I think there's a lot of Bears fans that are saying to themselves, I can't believe Tevin Jenkins isn't starting. And in that, I would say, or I would respond back, I'm not sure he's healthy. That's just me. But so, yes, it's fair to grade Andy in the rain. And no, I don't think that this game, Andy Dalton led, bears much meaning on the Bears' future. I mean, the Bears took on a team that was drastically better than them, right? That team did not play very well. That team still beat the Bears 21-7 at half, 33-22 as the final score. This game, I don't want to say it was over once it was 14-0, but it was close, because we've got a whole bunch of holes all across this team. You take a look at this play right here. I think this is the touchdown. No, it's clearly going to be the next one. But the Bears had just too many things that cannot happen necessarily, and they happened anyways. I mean, I don't want to act like this game was some kind of shut case, but after that first interception, after that second interception, after that third interception, after that fourth interception, the blows to the Bears were just so crippling. There was not a lot of coming back from it. This, by the way, being a great representative of what it looks like when we talk about, by the way, Ryan Pace and this roster. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about where, yes, am I laser focusing on one play? I absolutely am. But for as great as Ryan Pace's scouting department can be to find guys like Borum, Herbert, so on and so forth. There are these moments where you look at this roster and it's just so thin on the depth end that when Xavier Crawford, after 9, makes an extraordinary, I think that's James Conner, one-handed catch, just whiffs on the tackle and basically allows a free touchdown, what do you want to say? And that's the sort of thing that I know I look at and think to myself, this is ridiculous. If the Bears want to change GMs, I have no issue with it. It's Edmonds, thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's wild because, like you're saying, Jordan, he hits late, he misses early. But so at this stage, I don't see any reason to focus too much on keeping Ryan Pace when somebody like Xavier Crawford is the first guy off the nickel bench, like just whiffing on Edmonds right here as he goes and walks on into the end zone. Now it's 21-7, and the offenses don't do much after that. But there isn't a crazy amount of value we get from breaking down this game. It's more curls, like you guys, like we've talked about, right? It's outside running, like we've seen. It's Borum playing well, but you've gotten the picture, and we can watch some more tape by Larry Borum. But with Fields coming back to start, right? What is this? So with Fields coming back to start, with Fields coming back, or like with Fields taking the reins as quarterback one again, we don't need to know or care about a whole lot of what they did on offense within this game, because I don't think it's gonna really reflect. But that's just my personal opinion. And Peter, hey, you're sharing a Dave Aranda quote. You are barking up my tree, because I'll be the first to tell you guys that one thing that's really freaking me out right now is that Brian Daboll is struggling more than I want him to. Like, it's one thing to say that Josh Allen's having a bit of a down year. I have no issue with that. Like, it doesn't hurt my feelings to say that Josh Allen might not be living up to the MVP billing that he had going for him there for a second, because it's hard to, right? Somebody like Josh Allen going from 2 years of objectively bad to a year of incredible was probably going to settle somewhere in the middle. It kind of is. He's scrappy. He's, I think, certainly better than, say, Baker Mayfield. I don't want to sound like I'm tanking on Josh Allen too hard, but there's a few too many of these games that are getting away from Daboll in a way that reminds me a lot of what's going on with Matt Nagy. And the same could be said for Kellen Moore, who I think is a bit inexperienced, and not to mention, I think we've noticed with Matt Nagy, I'm sure you guys could think the same way I do here. This is a hold by Komet, unfortunately. Not too much to analyze, but I just want to give everybody the chance to like rewatch parts of this game as we go. But like as I rant, I guess. But being a head coach is not the same as being an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, right? Divvying things up, setting the tone, deciding direction, hiring staff. These are all challenges that are really, really tough. Like it's the sort of thing where I find myself looking at this and thinking, and I can't help but say that, I mean, Bryce, if you're not going to go with Josh McDaniels, who might be the most successful offense out there right now among available head coaches, you got to start thinking about what you're going to do for your head coach, right? Who's your head coach going to be? Exactly, James. And sure, you could go the Harbaugh route. You could go the Greg Roman route. Greg Roman's probably going to be your safest bet if you're looking for that offensive mind who's going to come in. But I can't help saying that Dave Aranda would be awesome. Like, I know he's my alma mater, but because he's my alma mater, I can swear up and down to you guys that while he'd be a little early, like in terms of he's had 2 years now of head coaching experience, that's 2 more years than Brian Daboll, that's 2 more years than Greg Roman, that's 2 more years than a lot of guys. And he'd bring with him an analytical, or I guess, let's just go with the word modern. I hate that word analytical, right? But so, he'd bring a modern approach to the way that the Bears did football on both the offensive end and the defensive end, and we know that because we've seen him do it at Baylor. Now, Sean Payton would be awesome, actually, JK. Like, I don't want Bears fans to confuse there's almost no way that happens with that would be bad, because Sean Payton being the Bears coach would be awesome. Like, it'd be great. I love Sean Payton. Sean Payton's awesome. But I also don't think that he's leaving New Orleans. And I don't think that Kellen Moore is leaving Dallas either. So there's this and there's that. Bryce, you said, who's Dave Aranda? Dave Aranda was LSU's defensive coordinator in the Joe Burrow defense. Now he's Baylor's head coach, who just won the Big 12 championship in their second year in Aranda's program off of a grindy defensive game. He's got a Fangio mindset. And also, if you didn't watch the end of that Baylor-Oklahoma State game, go watch it because it was sweet. But that's not just from a Baylor fan's perspective. Watching a goal line stand to win the game is incredible. Like, I mean, Baylor or like that. Or so if you don't know, the way that I would sell it to you is, oh, by the way, can we just appreciate this? By the way, like, can we just appreciate? Let's see if I got it right. This is do I have the right play? Oh, I do. I want you to just watch for a hot second right here that Roquan Smith is going to take down Kyler Murray in a true one-on-one to the sidelines. Both of them breaking right. Who's going to win the race? Kyler Murray makes people look silly for a living, right? But 58 is going to be able to stay with him, keep composed, and ultimately put him down for a gain of just about 2 overall. Nothing major. Like, 58 is a special player. I have gone a lot of ways on Roquan. I've questioned a lot of things about inside linebackers, but Roquan Smith is pretty much the exception. He's that rare unicorn player that's just nuts. Like, he's incredible. You can't take it away from him. Like, you absolutely extend him when you get the chance, and that's not being wild. I mean, it's crazy. Like you said, Case, like I gotta bring us back just so we can watch it again. You watch the way that Roquan moves to track him down is just incredible. Just quick side to side motion, and notice the way that he's moving. Like, that's full hips over here, but shoulders still pointed downhill. Like, he's got his weight under control. Kyler throws a stutter step. He gains, or like, he buckles down to address the stutter and then gets back towards the sidelines. This has extraordinary side to side quickness that just shouldn't exist, but it does. And he's so good in coverage too. But so, yeah, I mean, Dave Aranda is, just to finish it out. So Baylor played Oklahoma State. It came down to the final possession. Oklahoma State got 4 shots at getting in the end zone, down 21-16, and the final play of the game was just awesome as the Oklahoma State guy takes the handoff, runs towards the edge. He's got 3 yards to gain, can't quite gain it. He needed 3, gains 2.5 yards in a full extension. Everybody goes nuts in AT&T Stadium. It was fun. But so, if you like defense, it was that chills up your spine defensive moment that had me and my parents just like blowing up off the couch. Super fun. But so Aranda is, Peter, it's funny you call him like Jesus. I mean, he's your absolutely classic stoic football guy. If I sound like I'm talking about him enough, I think he'll be a name eventually. Like you said, like a whole bunch of people have said, the chances, it's more likely that the Bears hire Leslie Frazier because of his connection to Chicago than they hire Dave Aranda, for crying out loud. But he's definitely a name that, as a lot of these more, let's call them standard head coaches have come down the tubes, like, or that we've seen Ryan Dabble struggle, that we've seen Greg Roman. I don't want to say Greg Roman struggled. He's just not gotten a ton of play, right? That I find myself just saying, Aranda becomes a more and more popular option. But so I don't feel like Casey's off limits. I feel like if Dave Tube was going to be a head coach, he'd have become a head coach around 10 years ago. Like, I don't want to pick on Tube too much. It's not like it's Tube's fault, but I feel like that's where we've gone. If you want Dave Tube, you probably want Jim Harbaugh. Like, that's my 2 cents anyways. That's the similar mindset you're going for. That means you're looking for a culture setter. You want a tone setter, right? You want somebody who's going to bake you more to the core of the team than to offer one side or another of expertise, right? But so that's sort of where my head's at anyways. Nothing wrong with wanting a Dave Tube tight. I just think that's more that hard, or it's Tobe. Am I saying it wrong? Oh, I wouldn't have known. Thank you, Eric. Assuming that's what was going on. But yeah, I mean, Josh McDaniels would be an interesting one. I can't help but feel like, guys, if it was Josh McDaniels, like, let's be real. Watching Mac Jones play in this Josh McDaniels offense is awesome. But yeah, I mean, I can't help but worry. Tobe, thank you. Thank you. That helps out. Nanisha, I'm really worried about the Joe Brady thing. I feel like Joe Brady is a hot name off of being tied to Burrow and very little else. Man. Oh, shoot. I didn't even see this the first time. Watch Roquan Smith, for crying out loud. Look at this. Track sideways, breaks hard back the other way, tackle for loss. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The ability to change hard directions right there. This is insane. Pulls the guy down. Whoa. That's wild. That's not even being a fan. Like, linebackers shouldn't move like this. This is insane. Roquan Smith breaks as the running back breaks, for crying out loud. Like, James Conner at this point, he says, all right, you know what? I'm going to hard stop the other way. And oh my gosh, Roquan just says, okay, I will too then. And is right on top of him. This is just so wild. And gets down on him. Oh my goodness. Like, wow. And we're not even talking about 58's ability and coverage at that point. Gosh, do I want them to have like a really strong defense at some point, not just 2018, during his time, because he has all the capabilities of that superstar player. I wasn't convinced until I saw him start making these run stuffs like we're seeing at this stage. And it's insane. Yeah, exactly, Bryce. Like, cold, horrible, wet field, and he's just running with guys. It's wild. But so, I feel like, yeah, I'm with you, Case, there. But so, the thing about Josh McDaniels of Denver that I will say is, I think McDaniels at this point is going to be the strongest, let's call it the whiteboard candidate, right? Years of, okay, so actually let's be simpler, right? What was the biggest difference between Kyle Shanahan and Matt Nagy, right? I'll give it to you straight. Matt Nagy had one season of offensive coordinating experience, and Kyle Shanahan had 9 years, right? You knew what you were getting with Kyle Shanahan because he'd had years to hone that craft. And while, yes, it's only New England where you're seeing Josh McDaniels have a whole bunch of you're totally New England where like McDaniels has cut his teeth. He's also cut it with Jimmy Garoppolo, with Jacoby Brissett, with Tom Brady, with a rookie Mac Jones. Like, there are a whole bunch of things that you would take a look at with McDaniels and say, well, actually, he's done a lot of different things. Oh, Cam Newton, another one. The trouble is, like you're saying, Jarrell, I hope it's Jarrell and not Gerald, but let me know. He did agree to a job with the Colts and then backed out of it. So I don't know. I mean, like, who's better at this stage from an offensive coordination perspective than Josh McDaniels? You tell me. I don't know. Is Josh ready to be a head coach? Do you want him as that promoted offensive coordinator where now he's the guy that everybody answers to? I don't know. I can't pretend I do. Right? Like, is he a smart football person? I don't think there's any way. Or, like, I don't think there's any way to say he's not. He absolutely is. Right? Josh McDaniels is one of the best offensive minds in football. Like, he's great. The trouble is that kind of like Jordan's mentioning here, part of me thinks that Josh McDaniels is as good as he is because he's got Bill Belichick over the top of him, who's able to kind of manage everything else and say, this part, Josh, is your corner. This is what you do. And he does it. And he does it really well. A-Song, I don't think he's great because of Bill's input. I think he's great because Bill does all the other parts of being a head coach, right? Like the person to, let me see here. Like, maybe Bryce, I mean, it's perfectly possible, right? But like you're saying, Jarrell, I could see it either way, where Josh as the leader of the organization, Josh is the guy to tell the team, hey, we're playing the Packers. It's time to go. Like, A-Song, if he did, it worked. Like, that's the funny thing about that win. Like, that was so Patriots, wasn't it? But so, looking at the future, in a perfect world, gambling on McDaniels and getting some great leader might end up with the Bears as this phenomenal offense and defense that just ended up being Patriots 2.0, and that would vibe really well with Chicago. On the other hand, it's easily the biggest disaster potential. I think that there's more disaster potential with Josh McDaniels than there is with Brian Daboll. Like, it could be bad. It could be good though. Like, we don't know. And so it would have to be, we just have to see. But so I could be sold there. I think that Daboll and Kellen Moore and a lot of others, like, dropping down has made it to where the door is definitely open, especially watching. Yeah, I know the tape stopped. Sorry, WY. But so exactly like you're saying, Ace, Daboll does scare me now more than I want to admit. But so let's see here. We got a couple. Oh man, Jordan, do you know how quickly the city of Chicago would just start to hate Brian Daboll if he called a 4th and 2 snap to the running back that didn't work as another offensive genius that just think about how angry, just think about how furious Bears fans would be if like Daboll came over, started looking like Nagy. You know what I mean? But so if I had to guess right now, JK, who it would be, it's either going to be Daboll because the McCaskies don't know how to hire. It's going to be Jim Harbaugh because they're impressed, or because or it's going to be like Leslie Frazier or somebody else connected to the Bears loosely. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm truly curious and a little clueless. Like, I don't have a good feel for what it is the McCaskies want to do. I need to know whether it's going to be a new GM just as much. Like, Pace's preferences versus somebody else's preferences would be incredibly, like, different as far as what they want in a head coach and the guys that they know. But let's quickly take a look at some of this. I mean, Jordan, I can't necessarily tell you otherwise. I think that there's the trouble with all these head coaching hires is that there are a lot of guys that deserve it. I mean, I don't think Byron Leftwich is like not deserving of a head coaching job eventually. I just wouldn't want it to be with Chicago because I don't know if I believe in him so much as I believe in the other candidates. To Jim Harbaugh's point, he's got a pretty sweet gig in Ann Arbor. Like, does he want to leave? I know he's said that coaching the Bears would be his dream job. Does he mean it? Is that what he wants? Man, look at Kyler, by the way. Like, you watch this kind of play on, like, check out these guys just slipping and sliding around in the turf as Kyler turns the corner and just bakes him all that kind of space. Kyler's built different, but let me take a look here. We got just a couple of these. So, Cardinals drive down to get a field goal. Bears get a touchdown. 13 plays. Why wouldn't it be? Right? The Bears got nothing easy. Like, to me, the biggest issue with this game, to get back to get off the coaching search and get back here, like, the biggest problem that I'm seeing is, hey, maybe Jarrell, like, could be. That'd be sweet if he was, but I don't know. Like, at this stage, so the Bears get a relatively neat little stop here. Bang, look at this. It's simple, but check out Eddie triggering. Like, you love to see this if you're maligning Eddie Jackson. Is it a missed tackle? Not really, because he's getting downhill. Line of scrimmage is right here, and he's forcing that point of contact well outside. Eddie doing a really nice job of making sure that that loss of 5 yards stays a loss of 5 yards. Want to just pull this back one more time. Eddie recognizes the play, gets down into his gap where he needs to be. Like, this is actually really disciplined by him because he's not going to over pursue and allow the guy to cut back inside. Because if Eddie, say, ended up right here, missed the guy, and he got baked and comes back inside, you never know how far that could go. Once you're in this gap, you got to keep it, right? And Eddie does a really nice job of making sure that he not only keeps his eyes on the runner, but forces him into a position where no matter what happens, like, is it a missed tackle or a made tackle? I would actually call that made, personally. Like, this is where tackling as we know it can be a little complicated. I mean that very seriously, especially along the sidelines, because you're looking for your guy to make a play and end up with the right result. whether he brings him down or not. And in this case, Eddie's able to do a really nice job of avoiding the blocker, getting downhill, and making the play, which we're here for. It's not dissimilar to that Devontae Adams one where you want him to bring the guy down on a thigh and drive tackle. And he doesn't bring him down, but he does get Devontae Adams out of bounds, which is what you want. And so he does a good job here of getting his guy out of bounds. From there, we move on to third down, moving forward. And then I think it's just a relatively run-of-the-mill stop. It is. Kyler gets up, so on and so forth. Alexander, I would agree with you that our secondary tackling has been troubling. I also think that our second linebacker at Alec Ogletree has been a real problem, and that when you need your secondary to make tons of tackles in the open field, you end up with issues pretty quickly. That's just my 2 cents. It's like at one point I think Eddie was the second leading tackler on the team, and you shouldn't have your safety as the second leading tackler on the team. But I'm with you, Bryce. The coverage has been a problem, especially on that second cornerback slot. But that, I feel like, has been discussed to death. But so let's take a look at just some basic Bears plays. Here's Borum knocking 42 around a little bit. They get the ball out there. But honestly, I feel like we all know what really matters on this one. Like, you can get some solid tape right here with that play. Let me see if there's some other, like, good ones. I'll just quickly look through this. Man, you look through these drive charts, for crying out loud, and it's like, okay, they got 10 yards, 3 yards, nothing. They took a false start. They get 8 yards. Penalty, though. And then you got a nice little deep pass right here. This one was fun. That was fun. Like, we could talk through that one, just because this one was great. But so, let me see. It's not this. That's a quick little check down. Yeah, here we go. It's the Ultra Nagy, right? This is Nagy's, if I'm going to die, I'm going to go down swinging. Yeah, that was a Madden throw, right? But so, like, this is where, oh man, this is great. Bryce, not only did Dalton throw a deep ball, this is where Andy Dalton becomes tackle breaking machine. This is where they turn it down to easy mode on Madden, right? And they still get baked on the defensive side of the ball. Actually, easy mode, Madden, honestly, throwing 4 picks, Case, you've seen it. I know the feeling. This might have been a Madden game. God could have just been playing Madden as Andy Dalton, and maybe God's not as good as we thought he was. But so, all jokes aside, they run if memory serves, it's a Wildcat reverse to Andy Dalton with Jakeem Grant, I think, coming in motion and just pushing it down the field. And so he goes, read option there, quick reverse to Andy, who has to break a tackle. So obviously the play's not over. Dalton's a freaking hero, gets back up in the pocket, launches the ball downfield, and bang, you might probably have the Bears' deepest connection all game. Like, that actually might be it overall. And Bryce, if he didn't have better pocket presence than Fields, that would be concerning. Dalton's a 10-year NFL veteran. That's something he should have. But Jordan, I definitely love that they're using Jakeem. That part's fun. But this was super funny, like, overall. Just because, totally, dude, let's see. Nice to see you, too. I don't think that this game defines Nagy's future, because I think the Baltimore one did, right? Like, I would look and say that there are a lot of games that define Nagy's future a lot more than, and frankly, already have. If he doesn't, if he doesn't win this game, which is very likely, this Green Bay game, it's got to be over. I mean, he might get fired literally after this game. But so, yeah, Dalton breaks a tackle, gets a throw to a wide open Jakeem Grant, who I'm almost surprised doesn't break away from Isaiah Simmons, but it is Isaiah Simmons. It's just hilarious to me that at this stage of the game, Dalton just started snapping tackles, like bang. He just started going straight through people. Like, you're not expecting Andy Dalton to just wheels through people, but he did. So then let's see here. I can't remember if it's immediately, so we're just going to watch some plays quickly. Basic handoff, because then we got to cover the interceptions. We do. And then we got one more to cover from our boy Ejax. Look at this. It's so simple, right? But, like, take a look at Borum here. He's going to take 94, and he's just going to drive him, right? He gets a nice job of inside of it at this stage, and then just shoves him down the field. It's nothing huge, but it's solid. Let's see here, Nanisha. If I saw it, a live stream in the offseason, go over some head coach candidates, talk on tape. I love the idea. Let's absolutely do it. And yes, Case, I know what you mean. Let me see. You mean the Madden throw where the quarterback's got it, runs up, goes, and just like snap throws it to the sidelines, like shockingly far away. You know what I mean? The one where it's clear that the player went, I'm going to run it. Just kidding. My check down's over there. And just throws it and it's perfect, right? It's just a crazy throw. But yeah, Andy did. But so I know exactly what you mean. So then Andy's going to call the flag over. Here's another one. Just snaps the tackle, throws the ball, incomplete. But like, check out Andy on this. Like, this is pretty funny. 4 picks in, he obviously did not play well, but it is hilarious the pressure that the Cardinals were able to create, and even wilder that Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, Big Red, as my dad calls him, stepped away from a whole lot of it. They're able to end up with the ball in the end zone on this drive. Like, they're getting every painstaking yard that they can, right? Oh, man. It would be over. At that point, Alexander. Yeah, Bryce. Ooh, that's actually not a bad one to go through. Like, let's take a look at the Kmet route, if only because I am curious as to whether it's a man route or not. And no, I'm not trying to belabor the point, but like, let's take a look at Kmet here. Does he run into space? It's more like a zone pass off, and he's got a DB on him, so you're not exactly expecting Kmet to just outrace the guy right there. But maybe he'll learn to like come back, use his physicality to separate a little bit more at this stage, come back towards the ball. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a tight ends coach, but you're definitely hoping for a little more separation, but it's hard to find the guys that do. Like, they're rare. But so from here, I love this little like quick slants and arrows kind of thing. You got just basic dragon kind of action. They get the ball out to Montgomery really, really smoothly, and he beats the guy in space for a quick first down. But so, let's see here. Yeah. Hey, Song, you ain't wrong about that. But so from there, yeah, Dalton juking out Chandler Jones on that last play, which is a little on the wild side, right? It's not what you woke up thinking that he'd choose violence. But so, ball tipped at the line. Like, you end up just... There's so much back and forth on this Bears offense. Bryce, I don't think Kmet's a bust. I don't understand why people are so willing to call Kmet a bust. Like, is he a home run? I don't think so. I feel like I end up having to have this discussion every single week. This thing's driving me crazy. Like, we can let Kmet just be a tight end, right? He could just be his own finder. He frankly needs to be a little bit better blocker. Like, in my opinion, when I watch number 85, the number one thing that I need to see is less of that. Right? Like, you take a look here. This is actually ironic. And Alexander, Dalton was never a perfect decision maker in the first place. But so you watch plays like this, and I want to see Kmet at this stage. James, thank you so much for becoming a member. You have no idea how much every little bit helps. But so a play like this, it's Chandler Jones. That's going to be tough. But so I would love to see Kmet make contact a bit cleaner on plays like this, but he's also a tight end. I mean, the question becomes, are you looking for a 1,000-yard receiver? Because that's a lot to ask. Kmet's about to receive 500 yards. He's not going to do it in a flashy way. He's not going to separate. He's not Mark Andrews, at least not yet, right? But he is picking up yards when he's open. So can he become like a Jason Witten type? Well, that's up to him. Right? I think he could be a little bit better of a blocker, but he needs time to grow into it. Not needs, but more time might make a difference. I think his run blocking is where I'm starting to look. You can clearly see he's willing, right? He's a willing blocker, and that's a huge first step, right? But will he be an able blocker as well? Probably needs a little more work, because I think he's, what is it? He's like, I would say that Kmet is very between right now, where on some he's inconsistent. That's the word I'm looking for. On some snaps, I think he blocks the snot out of his guy. On others, he whiffs. Sometimes it can not be also great. But It's just a matter of building that consistency as a tight end, that both as an offense going forward, whoever is running the offense, and as a blocker in the run game, you can know what you're going to get out of him so that you can start planning around him. That's more or less where my head's at. I mean, oh man, is that a nice move from Mooney or what? Eric, it's just a lot of opinion at this point, and that's all right. Gosh, let's take a look at this. So Borum does a good job of going from one block to two. Look at all this time, or like, look at all these moments where Borum is able to actually make an impact on more than one defender. It's simple and it's not outstandingly, like, it's not crazy pretty, but Borum's able to make an impact on that inside defender, 92, get off the block, get to 58, get in the way of Jordan Hicks, and then Montgomery makes just a nasty little spin move right here to then pick up another 3. So let's see here. Ben Mason just signed as a blocking tight end fullback for the Bears, maybe. But so they get out. Dalton's going to launch this for the end zone. Not complete. We might have missed, but we may not end up talking about how Rodney Adams botched a great opportunity for his first NFL catch. I mean, that thing hit him right in the hands. But yeah, practice squad. Thank you. Good evening, PJ. How you doing? But so Bears just pound this thing all the way up to the end line and then just dunk it in. But so, hey Cassie, great to see you in here. But so let's see here. No, I mean, you're talking about Borum not getting low enough on his blocks. Absolutely. Like, I would look at Borum right now and I would say getting lower is going to be a real task of his. And if he never does, but ends up continuing to perform like he does, or like he has here, you live with it. Like, you move on. I think Borum, as he stands, is developing well enough to get excited about. No question about it to me. It's just a matter of that next step, right? PJ, I got you. Don't you even worry about it. But so, like, the trouble is that sometimes I think that, and we see this with Kmet right now, really, really heavy, right? Where people can say, well, this is how it should be done. This is how it needs to be 100% of the time. And it's like, well, let's take a look at Borum, right? He's doing a good enough job, and there is such thing as good enough. Kmet right now is good enough at what his role is. His role is just, I don't want to say it's easy. Right now, his role and most of his receptions come from running into open space and running stick pretty well, which, hey, he is. This was your, by the way, this is your, like, I don't know, what, Amazon Prime Gaming Jimmy Graham moment of the day, as Graham, or, like, Kmet's going to set a nice little pick with Graham opting out for a quick touchdown, and Jimmy Graham cashes in that $10 million contract. Boom. There you go. But so I think it's hilarious watching Jimmy Graham score these kinds of touchdowns, because I'm like, ha, there he is. Unbelievable. And James, oh, we don't need to get too started on the power run game fullback thing. I feel like the Bears would get more power running out of, oh, we get another Tevin Jenkins snap. Let's stop the show and take a look at number 76 right here, who's in an incredibly weird stance, I got to say. Like, with his this leg tucked way back. He's got his feet outside of his shoulders, for crying out loud. But, let's see. Does he just bump into the guy again? Yeah. All right. So nothing particularly notable on either of those snaps. That's for sure. But so 100% Jarrell. I mean, he's still getting used to his playing weight, I would imagine. So it's just going to take some time, but we'll see how it goes. But so, Nanisha, we do not need to. Do you want to look at bars on that last one? Oh gosh, because I don't love watching Alex Bars at this point. Oh, he was all right. But so, yeah, Jink is playing not to get hurt. I don't know where Fady is. I think I saw him on like a snap or two. No, he might just be hurt, honestly. But so, what really defined this game? The Bears score. They make it 21-14. Right? Nothing particularly wild all around, but you know what's coming. You know what we've got to talk through. We pretty much need to finish up the game by talking about how the Bears collect a punt. They have an opportunity to, so it's 24-14. They're still down 2 scores, but they collect a punt. They dig their way out of an end zone hole, right? we'll take a look at this one right here, and a couple of these. But so, Nanisha, we will, maybe we will in a little bit. We'll just try to bust down a couple of these doors at this point. But so, they almost come away with the fumble. W.Y. Jenkins did get 2 snaps. They were both on PATs, so it wouldn't be too crazy. Mike G, you know I got you. There's a lot of Borum in this one. We got a weird stream overall, so glad that you dipped in the first place. Cassie, we do sometimes. It's the alternate jersey. Here's Dalton attempting one of his 20-yard passes, which, yay. But so, then we get to, oh boy. Nice little slant right there. I feel like if there's one thing that the Bears could do better, now granted, most defenses that are in or that are playing Chicago at this stage aren't playing them like this. Like, to be fair to like Mooney and all the people that are like, where are the slant routes? Well, normally, right? People take their defender back here, back here, back here, back here, back here, and let you run the little thing so that the defender's sitting right there for it, right? And so, Cassie, does that mean you're UT Longhorn or an OSU Poke, or like what are we looking at? But so, like normally you don't get these tight looks, and so when they do, I don't know if it's Dalton or whether it's just the way that the offense was like, the way the play call was supposed to be in the first place. But he takes the snap, he gets it out, right? This is as close to easy as you're gonna get. With Darnell Mooney, as he makes a really nice little move on number 7. Like, take a look at this footwork right here. Tennessee, there you go. Go Vols. Friend of mine graduated from there. But so, take a look at this route right here. Nice outside, quick stutter. Very nice overall. Nothing to hang your hat on too much, but it's always fun to make sure that Darnell Mooney is performing from a footwork perspective as well as his results are starting to matriculate for him. So seeing that kind of route running certainly gets me excited. And then, if memory serves, this is right around where the wheels start to fall off, because the Bears get a nice little run right there on first down, and then they're going to like lose yardage somehow on second down. I bet you they call it another run, right? We'll keep our eyes on Borum. Works his way to the second level, delivers a block, keeps Simmons out of the play. It's little stuff like this. Like, it's really nothing crazy. It's just that Borum looks like he knows what he's doing. I mean, Daniels actually has a really nice block right here to push 98 out of the way. Like, gets all of him. Daniels has had a very solid season. Tough reps in this game. Some really tough sledding. But normally he's been even more stalwart, and Borum works out and helps create that space. Like, look at that. That's really solid stuff. And so Herbert soaks a tackle, continues to get downhill. And then second down, yep, you better believe. Okay, no, it's a play action pass, and it is dropped. This one, I know during the game, I tweeted about how the problem with the Nagy offense is that when contested stuff over the middle gets tipped, it could easily be an interception. You tell me, should we expect Mooney to catch this? The more I look at it, probably, right? Like, he's got full control of the ball. Hands weren't around him at that point. We didn't like, he doesn't get contested at that stage of the catch. Ball pops out. It's almost intercepted. It's not full Kmet tier, and I hear you, like, for sure, the rain. But that one at least pops out to me and makes me think, oh, no, Mooney probably should catch that. Like, at least you're going to think so, right? Borum does a decent job on a straight-up pass rep. But so, sure. And then I think he should probably be a catch. Mooney's hands haven't been perfect, but like you're saying, A-Song, I think that should probably be a catch. Third down, here comes a sack, and a big one, too. Let's take a look at the pass pro. I actually have no idea what happened here, but I know Herbert was left looking over his shoulder. So they send a ton of guys downfield. One beats, it looks like, is that Whitehair? No way. It's got to be Peters. It's Peters. But so, looks like Peters at this stage gets beat. Herbert has to make a decision. He decides he's going to stick with the outside guy, which is actually the wrong decision. By the way, normally you want to leave this guy to the quarterback. You want to take the inside most threat so that this doesn't happen. Because if you take that inside most threat, Dalton may be able to move. Now, you take a look and you see that nobody's open. I'm not 100% sure where they're going, but these whole like no check down plays are always weird to me, if only because, I mean, if they do bring a mega blitz like what we're seeing right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-man blitz, where do you throw the ball? The answer that the Bears offense would tell you is you throw it to Mooney, duh. But yeah, he got smoked. Like, Dalton gets smoked. He gets up gimpy after this one. Like, I don't know what y'all were seeing, but I saw a guy that looked like he was kind of hurt. Like, at least from what I could tell. Now, the Bears have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 protectors. So in a perfect world, you'd hope that they figure it out, right? In a perfect world, you're hoping like 1, 2, 3, not 3, 4, but 3. Peters takes the inside most guy. Herbert needs to take the inside most guy. Kmet takes that guy right here. Like, you're okay with this, but you need the outside guy taking this at this moment. But so from this, like, Andy gets hit. He gets up looking rough. This shoulder, if memory serves, just isn't moving like the others. And that kind of wince is not good, right? But so Pat O'Donnell, MV Pat, takes one for the team, baby. Getting smoked on roughing the kicker. Like, we'll get a replay. We don't need too many replays of roughing the kicker at this point. But number 16, generating 15 on this play right here as he lets that ball loose, takes a big one to his kicking leg, and the Bears are back on offense, baby. They need that big score right here. They don't get it. Like, I don't know what happened here. If you wanted me to criticize coaching, I actually will. I'll go all the way there. This is probably, truth be told, I think I'm being a bit too speculative. Like, I'll own it. I think I'm speculating too much when I say this. But Andy looked hurt. I'm shocked they didn't let Foles play. Like, you don't even have to like Foles, but when you put our hurt quarterback right back in the game, Cassie, we're 4-8. We're struggling. But so when you put a hurt quarterback back in the game, they tend to do, I don't want to say dumb things, but dumb things. And so Andy's going to drop back. This ball's going to get tipped at the line right here. But take a look at the guy he's throwing to. Like, this isn't, with 20 here, a sitting underneath defender. This is not open. Like, this is not open at all. The ball gets tipped at the line. 100% it does. But it might have been picked either way, because number 7's sitting here waiting for it in any situation. He jumps forward, he catches it, he races downfield. That absolutely happens. Like, there's no taking that away, right? But Dalton takes that look, comes back for the curl, and I don't think that curl was ever there. Like, he immediately goes to throw the ball, but he takes the tip, and it's bad. I mean, you have to put something on the quarterback here. The quarterback can't just be out here chucking ducks, and you don't want to necessarily push somebody too hard and say, like, I'm trying not to assign problematic quarterbacking where I don't think there was problematic quarterbacking, because it's certainly not just that I hate Andy Dalton or something like that. The tip doesn't help. You want Kmet's block to flat out be better, but I don't like the decision in any setting, and I think number 8 would have ranged over and made a play on that ball had he gotten the chance to do so. What is going on here? Oh boy. Okay. No, I just got like so many Discord things. But so let's take a quick look at the at Kmet, because I am a little bit curious as to what's going on here. So Kmet's going to be outside on the edge on 55. I think he might just get beat inside. So let's see. He just gets beat flat out. I mean, when we're looking for things from Kmet, honestly, I don't need him to be a wide receiver. But if he's going to block like this, I want him to be a wide receiver. I think he can do better. He's done better. Like, he's getting better. Tight end takes time to master, especially when you weren't a full-time tight end in college, and he's willing. Like, Kmet is trying. This is not Jimmy Graham that we're looking at. But probably around your third year of football, you gotta do better than just trying, right? I mean, this was, let me see, that looked like a bad practice effort. I mean, yeah, it's not a good rep, right? Good defenders do good defender things. This is a good defender thing. Like, he rips right on by Cole. That gets tipped, and it's in the other way. But you can't be allowing pressure like that, at least not on other games. Or, like, in this one, I don't want to say it was lost cause. It certainly was still in play at this point, as much as Bears fans didn't want to think about it, right? I know I didn't, right? But it was. And so at that point, I want to see if I was going to offer some, I don't want to say homework, but I always like offering to you guys, the folks watching, things that you can go into the next game looking for. Watch Larry Borum against the run, or like in the running game. Watch Cole Kmet on his blocking assignments, especially when he's attached to the end on play action. Because as Cole Kmet's blocking improves, like if he can become a good blocker, a bona fide good blocker that also catches the ball like he does, even with all the problems that come there, he will be a good tight end. Right now, he's just a smidge too jack of all tradesy for me. Like, he's not a great pass blocker, and he's not a great run blocker, and he's not perfect at knowing his assignment, and he's not great at generating separation. He's not great at this, that, and the other. He's just good, fine, or meh at everything. I want to see him get a little better at some things. Now, this is a play I have to talk about. So remember, the score right now, it's 24-14, right? Simple little thing that we got to talk about at this stage. But so it's a 10-point game, right? This is huge. And so what you're going to see is a bona fide touchdown. At least I think so. Like, what the play we are going to watch, I don't want to make too much of a mountain out of a molehill, but for as much as Eddie Jackson has gotten absolutely killed over his tackling this season, as much as our channel has tried to disprove it, take a look at this. Number 6, clean path to the end zone, Eddie biting down too hard. This is a score, right? But Eddie fights back. He's going to chase the guy all the way down. He's going to put all his weight there, and he denies a touchdown that, honestly, all 6 needed to do was stretch the ball out. He probably had it. I mean, this is truly as close as it comes, right? But Eddie's going to bring his guy down. He finds a way to play that goalie safety role, if that's what you want to call it. And the Cardinals don't get a touchdown out of this. Like, wildly enough, on the next succeeding plays, the Bears are able to jam him at the line of scrimmage. They jam him at the line again. They create some incompletions. They force a field goal. Like, Eddie Jackson's able to take what I think, anyways, was a surefire touchdown opportunity and pull 4 points off the board and keep a two-score game. That's really solid. Like, the Windy City Gridiron has an article coming out. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but basically we're talking about like the young foundational pieces going forward. There's no way that you can phrase to me that Eddie Jackson isn't part of this team's future. Either that or you trade him for somebody that is, but Eddie Jackson's got value. Like, he's a really solid defensive back, and he takes a little too much heat, frankly, on Twitter, though I feel like people have calmed down about that since now. Now, another player that I want to point out, I don't ever spend enough time on the tape to talk about him enough, but Kyrus Tonga for a 7th-round pick has been nothing short of unbelievable. Like, look at the way that he's just going to just muscle right through some guys. I mean, it's a simple rep, right? It's nothing particularly crazy, but like, man, watching the way that he just penetrates is awesome. And Case, that's crazy. Like, to me anyways, because I feel like way too many people have been way too hard on Eddie Jackson and somehow think that he needs to be 11 players all at the same time. He's one safety. I think he does a good job in his role. It's just a matter of loading the defense with more talent. I mean, it's the same thing as Roquan, right? You get these special plays, you get these special glimpses here and there, but you need those other players around him to create pressure. Like he's tackling really well. He's playing a very good safety role, making some key tackles all across the field, and and still forcing pressure, just like we saw against the Lions, like we've seen all season. I don't know. I'm a big Eddie Jackson fan, and I get that there are a lot of people that aren't, and that's okay. But I think the tape would say otherwise. He's playing really good football. But the trouble is he paying? Yeah, exactly. That's unironically, John. Like, I think that's a thing, that he played so well in 2018 that he set expectations at a level that's going to be unbelievably hard to hit. Like that 2018 season, at least I like the way that my friend Brandon Robinson, the defensive download, you see him here and there. I mean, like you're saying, Bono, he says it this way, that Eddie had one of the best seasons a safety has ever had, and since then has been a very good safety. I agree. I mean, we're not seeing a Jamal Adams fall off, guys, right? Like, he gets traded to Seattle. He looks flat out bad. You know what I mean? But in what we're seeing a good cover safety surrounded by nobodies. I mean, unfortunately. So I feel like at this stage, I have little but praise for Eddie. Like, he makes mistakes here and there. And is he a game changer? Well, he is when he's got reliable secondary talent around him, but when you can just avoid him, no. I mean, he changes the game in that occasionally you turn from a first read to a second read, but you get the idea. In case, I actually have not followed the Cowboys quite enough. Is Diggs what I think he is? Is he super high variance right now, where he's collecting 1 billion interceptions and also giving up a bunch of yardage? Like, is he both, or is he just interceptions? Because I know the turnovers are there. Because one thing that I'll always remember, I think about this all the time. Remember that corner the Bears had, Marcus Cooper? Yes, it's the guy that ran into the end zone and dropped the ball in the Steelers game, and they took a touchdown off the board because of it. Like that Marcus Cooper. He had 5 interceptions in like 2014, something like that. I don't know. I can't quite remember. But so I think it might have been 2016, as a matter of fact. But so he had 5 interceptions in Arizona. And so why did he have them? Because he was a terrible corner. And so because he wasn't playing well, he got thrown at all the time. Like, nobody gets thrown at like somebody who's not good. You know what I mean? And so I don't mean to come down on Diggs at this point. If you're still in the chat, I can't remember the Cowboys fan, but I know you're here. I'm not trying to come after Diggs at this point. At least he's creating those turnovers. But there is something to the idea of normally you find, yeah, Cassie, there you are. Normally there's a relationship between low interception or not. There's not always low interceptions equals good corner. I mean, Kendall Vildor doesn't have any interceptions, for instance, but a lot of the guys who get more than like 3, you got to wonder why they keep getting thrown at. Right. And, cause normally at least you start getting avoided unless you're on some crazy defense, but we'll see. Like, I'm not trying to tank the guy too hard, but so the Bears game pretty much ends. It's not after this one. I wanted to go back and watch, like, here's a Cole Kmet catch. So how does he generate that space on this point? I do think that Cole is starting to learn how to use physicality, like right there, gets a nice little push off. That's not bad separation. It's not crazy good. Like, we don't need to sell it for more than it is. But this is the kind of thing where Mark Andrews would blow the guy off the ball. He creates a throwing window. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And so being able to use that tight end push off. Speaking of, by the way, I will never understand why this isn't offensive pass interference. Like, to me, it feels like it clearly is. You even see tight ends finish with their hands at this point in football. Like, watch Kmet at this point. We've seen people do this to Roquan all the time, where they attack the corner, they get their hands into the corner's chest, and they finish with that arm extended before getting out to go make their catch. I don't get how that's not offensive pass interference, right? But it's not. So there's an element of, like, you tell me that goes into it. I don't know. And I'm not trying to fight the good fight too hard. But so here you go. Oh, Case, really? We're going down the Jalen Ramsey is overrated thing? I mean, depends. Why do you think he's overrated? Because he's, like, not the best defensive player in the league? I think Jalen is unreal. Like, the stuff that he does, but I think he moves way too well. But that's just me. But so anyways, let's see. Like, I do think, Sean, it's a pretty lax call on the tight ends because I see them get away with it. It really feels like all the time. But so we got a nice little Grant route right here. Oh, man. Yeah, Tre'Davious White does seem like he's somewhat overrated. Like, I'm not trying to go after guys too hard because I haven't watched him well enough to... I couldn't even tell you what team he plays for. I should know. But, you know, what the day that I go full-time on this, I'll be able to tell you that kind of thing. But for now, not quite. But so... Then they kick out a screen. I think it's coming. It's got to be coming at some point. This one's the saddest interception. Like, it's the saddest interception coming up. But so, yeah, Case, I hear that. I feel like Ramsey at his best is used as, I don't want to say like a dime backer, but sort of like an everywhere guy where he goes all over the place. And he sort of is. But so, oh yeah, oh gosh. So this play tilted the crap out of me, like when I was watching at home. I'm sitting there by myself watching the game, and Sam Mustipher dumps his second snap of the game just straight up on the ground. Fourth snap of the season, and this one's so bad that he picks it up himself. Like, how bad does a snap have to be where the closest guy to it and the first one to recognize it is the center that snapped it? Like, we'll get the wide angle here so that we can just sort of take this one in again, right? Dumps it on the ground, picks it up, falls forward. I get it, Olin. Like, this is Olin's guy. I'm by no means trying to, like, say that I know more than Olin Kreutz, who's forgotten more about football than I will ever know. But goodness gracious, watching Sam Mustipher frustrates me so bad at this point. They did get a false start. At this point, it was the illegal snap, 100%. But like you're saying, Romeo, I mean, it's the point where I go like, what are we doing? Like, how does this happen? But so then at this point, they run a rotation. Bears get some yardage. Ball pops out. Hooray. I am curious about this one. It's rainy. It's gross. This wasn't Kmet's best day in the first place. Was it catchable? Yes. Did he hold on to it? He didn't. Now, is that a demerit against him? You tell me. I mean, big-bodied tight end, you'd eventually hope that maybe he pulls it off, but we don't need to get too crazy. This is the big sad. This is the big sad one. The Bears fake a bubble screen that's actually kind of open, and then Dalton comes back, and I don't know what he sees here. I'm shocked he doesn't just dirt the ball, right? I'm legitimately shocked he puts this ball in the air, but it's pulled right on down, and it's taken right on back. And Dalton gets, you know what? Dalton puts on the wheels, pulls a guy down, makes a big tackle, right? But yeah, it's not good. And I don't think you need me to tell you that. Like, I can't tell whether this is just Nagy outthinking himself, but it's 100% a screen the other way, right? Dalton kicks that foot back, tries to loft the ball over, doesn't get near enough loft on it, and it's picked off. And there you go. Dalton over, right? I mean, or not Dalton. Actually, Dalton over. Like, he's hurt at some point for sure. But that's the game. And it's not like it wasn't without its bright spots. The problem is that without Justin Fields and without Allen Robinson, and with the knowledge that Matt Nagy's almost assuredly getting fired, you end up with a team that just doesn't have a ton of reasons to care. I hate to say that. I hate to say that so forcefully, and I hope that doesn't bother anybody at their core. But, like, the biggest problem that I'm seeing here is that with this game in particular, there was just not a lot of reason to want to be there. You know, like, not just to be there, because nobody was. It was rainy, it was sad, it was cold, it was bad. But also, there wasn't a lot of great reasons to want to, like, you get the idea. There's not a lot of takeaways from this one. Besides, Borum's doing better. Tonga looks solid. Like, Eddie Jackson's resurging, though I don't feel like his play has changed. He's just starting to make good plays, which is no problem. And the Bears take on the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night with Justin Fields. That'll give us a little more. Because even if Justin Fields is playing in the world's worst offense, because I'm with you, Cassie, but I mean, you could say that about, honestly, you could say that about almost any team but the Cowboys at this stage. Like, when you don't have a good quarterback, you don't have a lot in most situations. And not to mention, actually, the Cardinals played some decent football with Colt McCoy, but you get the idea. But so let me see here. Yes, Justin Fields is confirmed to start A-Song, so they've got that going for him. There's good reasons to watch. Let's go ahead and take just the littlest dip as we wrap up into what is this? It's not Patriots, it's Packers film. So let's go with Nord. We'll get that rolling. You can see the little Nord thing. You may see a little bit of a hiccup, but we've got reason to watch the game again. And even if, like we were saying earlier, Justin Fields plays in the world's worst offense, like with Matt Nagy, he's still getting development reps, and that still matters. All right, so 3, 2, there it is. Sounds like that was the little flip in and out. So we should be all here, should be good. WY, just to, like, Jordan, we did. we showed it. He just basically sits there, honestly, in his stance. WY, we didn't discuss why Nagy didn't go for it on 4th down. I think it's because he's a coward and thought that he had too much to lose. I don't understand the decision, personally. Like, that's going all the way back to, let me find it. You're talking about the punt at the end of the half? Yes. So that's this, roughly. Let's see if we can't find it. Dude. I was furious. You're talking about this one, right? Let's see. It is... Yes. Nice. But so, yeah, he lines up to go for it on 4th and 2. I don't understand what was the problem. I get it. It's 21-7, and you're thinking, maybe we could come back in the second half. But I feel like with the Cardinals getting the ball, this would have been a great opportunity to go for it. But I'm not trying to dunk too hard on Nagy. I feel like his fate's pretty well sealed, you know? But so him not going for it, I think, was him just trying to potentially work out that delay of game penalty. And, you know, since he didn't get it, not worried about it too hard. Try to take him on in the second half, but I don't feel like it worked, and that's okay. But so let's quickly take a look at this. Cassie, goodness knows, I would love to beat the Cheeseheads. If it keeps Matt Nagy around, maybe I don't want to anymore. But at the end of the day, who am I kidding? Of course I want to. But so let's see. NFL.com tends to work better for me. We go Game Pass. We go... Like, we'll just watch a little bit. We don't need to do a whole preview stream. The Bears aren't good enough for it. Sorry. Also, I'll actually be in Houston. So, quick scheduling note. Holidays are going to be weird. I recognize that. In 2 weeks, for instance, I think it's after the Seattle game, I may be just doing sort of like a phone stream. Well, like, set up my phone in a room in Houston where some of my family is. But so... we'll just talk about the game, probably, because the Bears will just be getting off of going through Seattle. Who knows? Maybe I'll bring a laptop. Maybe we'll go old school setup, right? But so he really did very little. Let's now go through, like, just know that I'll try to be communicative. We'll go through what's going on. I'll keep you guys in the know. Don't worry too hard about it. But there's definitely going to be some dealing around the holidays, just so that we're all right there on the same page. But so, let's take a look at this. I'm really curious as to what happened. I mean, this was a wild football game, no doubt about it. But I feel like the Bears, Kirk Cousins, big arm, big receivers, so on and so forth. I don't want to say they comp perfectly to Chicago. That's not the point. But I do think that watching the way they deal with us is helpful. But so let's see if we can't grab ourselves an offensive drive or two, and we'll just watch through, see what they do. I don't really care much about what the Vikings do on defense. I think they play defense very differently than the Bears. But so I do think their defense is solid, Jordan. And WY, you know, now that Fields is back, it will shock me if it is. But so Packers get that quick field goal. Let's move on. We'll go through this, and then we'll all head to bed. I think it's all what we can do. So this is going to be really interesting. these are exactly the kinds of defenses that tend to really frustrate the Bears. Like too high looks with off corners to where if they did theoretically run like a curl or something like that, that obviously creates problems because the defensive back's just sitting right there waiting for it, right? But so let's see. Running the ball. Kenny Clark's obviously going to be a problem. And factor, 100%. Like, as far as pressuring Rodgers, I feel like it's going to be more about just slowing him down. But so, let's see. Refresh the stream? What do you mean? How do I refresh the stream? But so, Case, am I looking all right? Like, do tell. Did that little flicker hurt badly? Okay, cool. Good to know. But so... yeah, it looks like the Packers are going to play that standard too high that we're expecting, right? So, actually surprisingly similar defense to what we've seen with the Rams and what we've seen with Chicago, right? So, it won't surprise me if that's how they try to attack Chicago. Now, what are you going to do about Justin Fields? That's a good question. Like, what are you going to do, or how are the Bears going to use Justin Fields? Another good question, unfortunately. But so, 3Z's World... what are you talking about? But so, yeah, we'll see here. Okay. I'm curious as to whether we're going to see a lot of these same looks, because these are the kinds of things that I don't want to say they're going to instantaneously frustrate the Bears, but they've not been great with these sets. Now, mug fronts like this will help Chicago if this is what they decide to come out with, because mug fronts, like you're seeing here, 6 down on the line, this is very Rams. This is what I know the Rams came out and immediately challenged Chicago with, and the Vikings had a perfect answer to it, because when you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys up on the line of scrimmage, including this defensive back, which he really shouldn't, but he is, so let's leave him there, and you've got a defense looking like they're threatening either too high right here or quarters, could be 6 where they've got 2 there with him potentially like in a man lock situation. They could end up playing full field quarters. Like, there's a lot you could do with this, and it's a great third down defense. But as the Vikings found, if you're able to stomach whatever blitz the Packers come with, you can get a receiver downfield right there through that seam, and that's exactly what they do with Justin Jefferson collecting some big yardage on like a scissor pattern that looks basically like that. Gets him wide open. Really nice throw by Kirk Cousins. Absolutely crazy open right here as he busted down the field. But so, will this be how the Packers approach the Bears? I don't actually know. Like, if I was scouting the Bears, I feel like right now their offense has been so disoriented that you almost don't have to do anything crazy quick or like crazy difficult to disrupt the Bears, because you can just let the Bears disrupt themselves. Like, you probably want to try to take away the Bears running game, but I don't feel like that's particularly, I don't want to say it's not hard. I just want to say it's not schematically difficult. Like, you got to win your one-on-one matchups. You got to count on Kenny Clark to be the guy that you want him to be. You got to get Preston Smith on the edge making plays. If Za'Darius comes back, which I don't think he will, but if he does, like, that won't be great for the Bears, but it's going to mostly be about beating number 97 or figuring it out. But so, yeah, exactly. I mean, 3C's World, you've got it nailed. You got to get to the quarterback. You can't not get to the quarterback. But so, from there, let's see. It looks like they play a lot of these too high setups that are very similar. No, the Bears aren't winning 3Zs. It's really, to be clear, we're not evaluating what the Bears have to do to win. We're evaluating what the Bears have to do to compete, right? Like, it's not about that. It's about making this game meaningful for Justin Fields and trying to get a sense for how potentially Fields and the Bears could attack. Now, they're playing a lot of these quarters looks, which to me means that you could easily attack, because when I look at this exact kind of defense, I'm 100% comfortable. Let me say that I was the Vikings offensive coordinator. If you were able to use this and get a 4 verticals pattern, so something like that, potentially one there. Maybe Thielen goes out and up, Jefferson down the field. You're probably setting up for a very easy completion into or like underneath for Dalvin Cook. Like, it's not always about sending a bunch of guys downfield so that one of them can be open and you can be like, oh yeah, heck yeah, hit that for a touchdown, Justin Jefferson. Like, that's great, you know, maybe you do, but like you're saying, threesies, flats, I feel like you could set up a whole offense right now around checkdowns. You don't need Fields to play that same game. Al Bono, to challenge you a little bit, you don't need Fields playing that same game where he either looks deep or he tucks and he runs. Like, you can check this down a little bit, and that's all right. But so, like, I would love to see Fields play relatively well. It's going to be about beating these quarters looks. I think they're going to have to work the flats. They're going to have to work some quick game so that they can open up those deeper opportunities. Like, this is going to be, I don't want to say a challenge, but it's definitely going to be a growing opportunity for Fields in his first game in Lambeau. I mean, like, I don't think that it's going to be as simple as saying Fields has an opportunity, he's going to dominate, right? Like, I want it to be. I want it to be the storybook moment, right? But it probably won't be, realistically. It's just a matter of Fields going out there and not necessarily embarrassing himself. Oh, man, what did they do here? Like, I don't want to see another INT by Adrian Amos either. So this is another look that I know the Packers come out in a lot. I've seen this. I've watched just enough Packers tape to recognize it. But they'll also come out in a more standard, like, mugged up look with a single high safety on the back end. And usually they do this. This is just my guess, right? I'm not saying usually because I know, but it looks like they may be doing this to try to counter the bunch, because a lot of people, John, you know what? I'm not going to tell you no. I'm just not going to tell you to stop dreaming. You know what I mean? Might be in Madden that you get that 7 TD game, but hey, you take it. But so, it's always interesting to me watching how defenses attack bunch sets, because obviously with 3 wide receivers here, you could do a lot of things. You know, you could have something like that, like a quick scissor. You could have an outbreaker with a post on the top of it. You got to have a lot of guys in the same neighborhood so that they can kind of take a whole bunch of things. And this single high safety shaded over towards that hash helps you not only try to stay on top of the quarterback should they drop and you can play more of a center field role, but should something be, say, an inside post or something like that, you've got that safety able to track them and take them away. Now, it looks like they defend the bunch pretty well, all things told. Like, look at that. 21 gets him. Ooh, that's actually really nice defense. But Thielen cuts in. He looks open to me. Kirk doesn't get to him on time. Takes a big sack. A lot of this stuff on third down is just about generating time. Looks to me like Kirk misses the cue. Like, he's looking for something on this end, so he'd have to dart all the way to the backside, right? But, yeah, he doesn't get there. That's wide open, and there's the sack. It'll be about seeing what happens there, but we're hitting the stage where it's late enough that I got to sign off. I don't know, it's just a little bit of a shorter stream this time. I say shorter. We still went about 3 hours, but I always have a great time doing these things. Thanks so much for sticking with me. The Arizona game was a not a good one, but we've got a Packers Sunday night game that, if nothing else, is emotion worthy. Right? Like, playing the Packers is always a real emotional trip for Bears fans. It's on Sunday night, so we got a late one. I'll be right there with you guys on, on Bear With Me after the game. Thanks so much, A-Song. Glad you guys had fun. Thanks so much for showing up. You guys are great. Follow me on Twitter. Support me here on this channel, or don't. Your call. Just know that every little bit helps a ton. I'll be looking to see if I can't get some Larry Borum content put together. I'm still working on something on Eddie Jackson, but a lot of these things may kind of come together in the off season or around the off season when I've got a little bit of time. But so we will figure it out. Work's just been weird. Until then, guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for making this a great evening, and like the stream if you haven't already. I always appreciate the folks that are like, hey, like it if you're here. And until next time, Bears fans, bear down. Thanks so much for